Chapter 81, The Small Town of Virus 3. Eliminating one more person means reducing danger by a notch. Nursing that thought and weighing it over still feels wiser. The old saying remains that foresight is priceless. Had we known the rules earlier, the dungeon's difficulty could have been cut by half, yet alas we reacted too late. Right then, Tahan said calmly, I was the first to reach the central square. The powder smelled faint and chalky and it was white, hard to spot, yet a careful sniff would reveal it. Moreover, when you stepped on the ground the souls would likely pick it up. The three from Deep Tan's team fell silent. Because this is a small town of virus, Tahan declared, the system clearly wants players to contact the pathogen, and in the end I must learn who was suspicious to keep away. The chance is set right before us, so she did not hold back. After a brief talk, Chengdu cleared his throat and announced, in short, the odds of flushing out all the fleeing players are higher. Deep Tan drifted absent-minded. He had believed those two, though smart, were still a rung below him, so he meant to guide them to speak first. Once they spoke, he would casually offer his view and use his wits to press them down. There is a saying to cast a small bait to catch a bigger prize. He planned to let them be the brick while he played the jade, and by that seized the right to speak in this temporary squad. Who knew that after a short chat they had already wrapped things up? He could not help asking himself why he had felt superior. Perhaps it was blind confidence. His face stayed flat. I sat in the last row. While Professor Tran was speaking, I quietly scattered fluorescent powder. Fluorescent powder. Both Chengdu and Tahan were stunned. They examined each other and finally noticed strange dust sticking on the back and on the trouser legs. Deep Tan explained evenly, I pinched the powder at my fingertips to let it drift with the wind. Sitting in the last row with teammates covering and my motions hidden, I drew no attention. His thinking was tight and his means subtle and should have amazed people. Yet with Tahan's brilliance ahead, he only managed not to fall into a weak position. Once she had not been counted on, now the unexpected answer pleased her, and she looked to the other two with expectant eyes. Trin Kai. Din Ju Vai. In their trio only one brain worked, and that was Deep Tan. The other two were like limbs to execute the plan. Din Ju Vai thought blankly that staring more would not help him think of anything clever. After a long pause, Trin Kai blurted a string of figures. In total there are 100 players, 3 came late, 5 are here, 47 are in isolation rooms. That means 45 are hiding. However, except for Din Ju Vai, the other 3 already knew this. Casting a look around, Chengdu said in a low voice, time is tight, so we must move fast. In several runs there was no resupply and players lack food and daily goods, so they will likely head for the supermarket. Do as you wish. Fine, it is best to send a runner and pay to hire a broadcaster. With that he motioned for Tahan to follow and the two hurried away. The 3 under Deep Tan exchanged glances and shook their heads with wry smiles. Trin Kai posed a question first. What do you make of those two? Each can operate solo and each has a nimble mind. Together they are a formidable handful and absolutely unfit to be enemies. Bitterness touched Deep Tan's smile. Against either one alone I am not certain of a sure win. Meeting a ghost once is bad enough, and here we meet two. Wasn't it said that a team cannot have 2 voices? Din Ju Vai asked blankly. If opinions differ, who do we follow? Each acts alone and we let victory decide, or we play rock paper scissors. There are many ways to settle it, said Deep Tan without a change of face. Trin Kai sighed. No wonder they say one mountain cannot hold 2 tigers unless one is male and one is female. Din Ju Vai still found it hard to believe. He asked again, men having solo ability is one thing, but the woman too, that cannot be true. I do not want to believe it either, but facts sit before our eyes, breathed Deep Tan. If Tahan only used her brain while lacking force, then the easy runner job should go to her, and that is using a tool to its proper end. The note means using a thing to its full use. For the clever, the first rule is to judge oneself accurately. If she dares to follow to the supermarket, then she has something to lean on. Also, Chengdu would not bring along a burden that slows him down. In other words, if her combat value is lacking, we should have her run errands while Chengdu borrows one of us and they split up. If her combat value is enough, then the current setup is right and they watch the supermarket while we send a runner. Besides, did you not notice that pharmacy stock is limited and easy to be cleaned out, so players will shop even more at the supermarket? Those two hoist the hardest job and do not even ask us for help. With the team short on force, all five should have moved together. Din Du-Vi looked dumbstruck, unable to digest the heavy load of news. Trin Kai fared better and even shifted perspective. By our level we have cleared 3 dungeons, those two together likely cleared more. With higher level and 3 higher stats and with extra rewards they are naturally strong. A feeling in Deep Tan's heart defied naming. Before the panel, Chung Du had passed by the supermarket, so he took the lead. Soon the two arrived. At first Tahan worried about telling players from common folk, but on entry it proved far too easy. Some people acted bizarrely and snatched goods as if tomorrow was the end. Yet a young woman held herself back and only picked a bit of food and daily goods while feigning calm. If Tahan had not vaguely recalled that face and the clothes and the powder on her trouser leg, she might have been tricked. It is fine if we do not research, Tahan said coldly. Professor Tran said the incubation of the virus runs from 3 to 5 days and I will level up on the 5th day. Then my 3 attributes will be full and all bad states cleared and the virus will matter little to me. Even if I fail to level up, do you not have stored vitality potions? You can clear all bad states on the target. I often feel relieved, lucky that I am not your enemy, murmured Chung Du. Turning her head, Tahan stated earnestly, you are troublesome as well and I do not want to be your enemy either. The two fell silent. Suddenly she asked, do you truly have no backup plan? She found that hard to believe. None, Chung Du answered firmly, then hesitated. Aside from trying to remember the faces of 97 players, I did nothing else. Tahan. She too had quietly memorized faces, yet focus did not guarantee full recall and recognition came on sight. NK Books. She blocked a man and said coolly, you are a player, right? Stop hiding and come with me to the isolation ward. Thus she endured and laid out her reasoning again and stressed that once inside isolation the virus would not break out on a large scale. The man kept playing dumb. What nonsense have you been spouting? I do not understand. Are you sick? Hey, do not drag me in if you flare up. He had resolved to act stupid to the end. Tahan's face stayed still while her palms itched. Chung Du said coldly, I carry enough high-energy explosives to bury you in one go. Do you understand that? The man showed surprise at once and fell silent. Tahan nodded, looks like you understood. He thought for a while and then caught on, you dug a pit for me to jump in on purpose, right? I told you that you two also stand here, so how could you use high-energy explosives? Wait properly and no one is tricking you, said Chung Du offhand. My stamina value sits above 600, you die and I do not. The man. Either come to the isolation hospital or be knocked out now. Which road do you choose? Tahan pressed him hard. What other choice did he have? He stopped hiding and stuffed supplies into his personal store in anger. Luckily the two only stopped people and did not moonlight as robbers. Another one is coming, Tahan warned under her breath. While the two focused inward, the first prisoner tried to bolt. He would not go to any hospital and who knew what would happen there. He had barely sidestepped when an emotionless voice from Chung Du rang out, make no move that can be misunderstood. Trust me, you cannot bear the consequence. The man. He raised his hands and swore in rare seriousness, I will do nothing and I promise to wait obediently. The author adds a note. A certain player says they are actually good people. Look, they never robbed anyone. Chung Du and Tahan reply that their personal inventory has long since overflowed and their hearts are exhausted. Chapter 82, Small Town Virus 4. The second person stared at the senior in silence for a long time, then let out a sigh. The first person, speaking like a veteran, tried to comfort him, take it easy, the hospital is still safer than wandering around. But the second person did not feel lucky, his lips pressed tight, annoyance on his face. Soon it was the third person's turn. He looked calm and unhurried, not worried about being kidnapped and sold. The first person asked curiously, aren't you afraid? The third person frowned in surprise, afraid of what? An instance is never safe anywhere, but when players gather, both sides can watch each other. And if something unexpected happens, we can figure it out, right? Besides, their analysis is not random talk, it has some logic. When it happened suddenly, I only thought of running. Now thinking again, there was no need to panic blindly, because the system will not give a problem with no answer. The first person was stunned. Seeing the third captive speak well and sell the idea neatly, and most of all support the hospital plan, Tahan simply assigned him to persuade others. The fourth and the fifth came over, and in no time 10 more players stood by Tahan and Chengdu. Soon the 11th appeared, the modest young woman from the supermarket who drew no attention. As usual, Tahan stopped her, and the third captive started his patient brainwashing. The young woman was surprised to be blocked, her face turned cold. Not going, get lost. She clearly had strong opinions. Either go accept quarantine at the hospital or die, still not going? Chengdu confirmed again. The young woman smiled and calmly said, not going. She was very headstrong indeed. So Tahan granted her wish. She drew a dagger, closed in, and cut a line on the opponent's arm. Very quickly the two women fought. In moments, the young woman's eyes went wide with fear. Her dagger struck true, yet the opponent lost less than 3% stamina. How could she keep fighting? The young woman froze for a beat, while Tahan, expressionless, flicked her blade several more times. I have explosives on me, we can perish together. The young woman bit her lip and shouted. Hearing that, Chengdu rubbed the bridge of his nose. Minutes ago he used high-energy explosives to threaten a group of players. Minutes later someone threatened Tahan with explosives, wanting to die together with her. He was truly impressed. Tahan sighed softly, raised both hands, and backed away step by step. The young woman exhaled in relief. Her stamina was under 1/3 now. If the threat failed, she would have to surrender. But the next second, 3 gunshots thundered in a row, bang bang bang. Looking up, she saw Tahan's regretful face. Tisk, I meant to save bullets. The young woman. Before turning into white light, she was deeply vexed. After the kill, Tahan was not satisfied. She even muttered, taking you to the hospital is not sending you to die, why resist so fiercely? The air fell silent. The captives kept quiet together, hoping to avoid the female killer's notice. Those 3 over there are likely players. Suddenly Chengdu frowned and pointed. They seemed to have heard the commotion and planned to leave via the staff passage. Tahan said casually, you stay, I will go negotiate with them. She strode away at once. Only after she left did the captives breathe out. Not just never met it, I had never even heard of it. I never thought I would live to see 2 gamer girls stabbing each other right before me. Frankly, if you are not fierce, you do not live this long. Amid the whispers, someone crept close and spoke very softly. My name is Zhang Nguyen, I am not interested in teaming up, can you let me go? Chengdu looked at him for a while, then recalled this was the second player who returned to the spot. His mind spun quickly, his face stayed cool. Sorry, to avoid mistakes, every living player must go to the hospital. Either follow orders or die. That was not a threat but a blunt truth. High-energy explosives? Zhang Nguyen frowned and sneered, that will not work, my carry stash also has high-energy explosives, wanna blow up together? Hearing the earlier talk of perishing together, he realized he need not yield. Would they really risk their lives just to take him to the hospital? Impossible. Unexpectedly, Chengdu stayed calm, mentioning high-energy explosives was only to control the scene. I did not plan to use them. Zhang Nguyen stiffened. Zhang Nguyen. This was far from his expectations. He swallowed words for a long time and finally gave up bitterly. With the previous lesson clear, he would not be the second to seek death. What is the situation? Chengdu asked. Tahan's face was icy. They saw there were 3 of them and felt no need to follow my command. Negotiation failed, I spent a few minutes killing them all. Everyone. Truly ruthless and truly terrifying. Of them, 5 refused to cooperate and were gloriously knocked out, while 22 others were taken back to the hospital quarantine. But on return, the scene had changed greatly. Guards stood outside every quarantine room, the air was solemn. When a player tried to bolt, Professor Tran appeared and blocked the door, so the man did not escape. Professor Tran scolded in pained tones. For some reason, 3 people inside suddenly tried to flee and even smashed the wall. Luckily, the guards arrived in time and sedated them to quell the chaos. After discussion, we decided guards will remain to watch the quarantine rooms. Do not worry, they only prevent patients from running out, nothing else. Also, for peace of mind, the hospital will provide 3 meals. Once we confirm you carry no virus, after 5 days you will be released. Professor Tran pledged firmly. Hearing this, many people quietly breathed easier. As long as they were not unlucky carriers, staying 5 days in quarantine was fine, food and lodging were covered, what was there to oppose? The 22 were split among rooms, and just then Deep Tan returned with a group. Met 9, 2 dead, brought back 7. Deep Tan reported first. We found 27. 5 dead, brought back 22. After a pause, Chengdu said, so in total we found 36. Out of 45 who fled, 9 remain missing. Professor Tran led the way to settle players into quarantine. Right then a nurse brought in 2 players. Hello, someone came saying nearly 100 teammates are at the hospital, is this the place? Looking up, Tahan saw 2 familiar faces, players indeed. Good then. The nurse felt assured and left. Tahan repeated her deduction once more. The newcomers looked enlightened at once. One said, I felt from the start this instance was off, so that is the reason. The other said, we heard the broadcast, so we came to check, silently grateful they arrived. The first asked, need help? Tahan pointed to quarantine and said firmly, be good and stay there for 5 days, that is the greatest help. The 2. Chengdu added, 7 runners remain outside, handle them and it is over. But inside quarantine some players still misbehave, they must be watched. The 2 understood at once and answered earnestly, no problem, we will keep watch. Chengdu nodded slightly. Professor Tran came to lead the new group away, and finally only Tahan's 5 remained. I did not expect you would bring back over 20. Deep Tan feigned calm, though his pupils shrank. Thinking that more people meant harder control, he chose to ignore it. He had thought he did well, only to be crushed on return. Tahan did not care, many instances have no reinforcements, players' storages are quite empty. Since we met in the supermarket, we conveniently brought them back. Conveniently, Deep Tan kept a straight face while cursing inside that she obviously did it on purpose. Chapter 83, The Virus in the Small Town, Part 5. With players rarely getting in the way, he did not mind brainstorming together for solutions. Deep Tan stayed silent for a long time and then said slowly, right now my only thought is, are you not planning to have lunch? Tahan, Chengdu, The 2 had ample supplies in their inventories and could eat any time, so lunch never crossed their minds. But Deep Tan was different. His face was impassive as he said in a low voice, if I remember right, today is day 1 of the game. He glanced out the window and added, and it has just passed noon. In other words, it has been less than 5 hours since we entered the game. Deep Tan refused to admit defeat, yet he could not deny that too many things were weighing on him. Din Du Vai and Trin Kai had their own troubles they could not speak of. Then you should go rest. Tahan softened her tone. But the moment she turned back, she continued discussing plans with Chengdu. The sister did not rest, yet the brother actually had to go rest. Do we need to hurry that much? Deep Tan doubted. Tahan shot him a look and explained intently, time is crucial in this instance. Professor Tran said the incubation period of the virus is 3 days. To avoid accidents, it is best to finish before day 2 and stuff all players into single rooms for isolation. If someone becomes a new carrier and spreads the virus, the workload will explode. Spend your strength early, it is better than being dog-tired later. Life and death come fast, the stakes are razor thin, it is thrilling but you can easily play yourself to death. Deep Tan dropped a reminder, balance work and rest, then left with his little teammate. Clothes: the pants have glow powder, have dust, the body has a scent, the face was seen, players cannot hide completely so easily. Tuhan muttered. A spark hit and she had a new idea. Can we borrow police dogs for tracking? Police dogs have special training and extra keen noses, able to catch scents that humans cannot. Even if we cannot borrow police dogs, trained dogs would still help a lot. It is a method worth trying. At once Chengdu decided to find a dog and try. Usually they are trained, looking valiant and very smart. Professor Tran helped connect and arrange the borrowing. Knowing the dogs were to find people, the owner cheerfully lent them Burger. Tuhan let Burger smell some powder, then she and Chengdu each led a dog and began to walk them to search. This is a first-floor room just vacated, and there is a balcony on the terrace. The landlord introduced proactively, the room is a bit old, but it is fully furnished, nearby facilities are complete, life here is very convenient. Tran Haimin took a look around and nodded, very good, I am very satisfied. The landlord smiled, then please feel at home, I will not disturb your rest. Much obliged. Tran Haimin politely saw him out. Left alone, he exhaled a long foul breath and calmed down. It was hard to find a safe haven, but at last he could breathe easy. Only half a day into the game, he already felt like he had lived many lives. The vector had come too suddenly, and after he recovered his wits the only thought left was that if he must flee, then he must flee far. After running far he realized that close contact had already happened, so running would not help. Now he could only bet on luck that he was not infected. Otherwise losing 60 stamina a day would be outrageous, and he would be forced to pop pills to prolong life. Right after that he thought of the scene at the pharmacy door. Several familiar faces lingered as if searching for someone. Whenever a player vaguely came out of the pharmacy, they would stop them, either join the team or turn into white light and be eliminated, with no third choice. Sensing danger, he did not enter the shop and only watched from the dark. After those people left, he quietly slipped away. He still did not know what they planned, yet by instinct he chose to avoid them. Attention travelers of the 100-person tour group, your teammates are searching for you, please go to the hospital and assemble soon. Outside, a blaring loudspeaker suddenly rang out. Tran Haimin told himself these people truly knew how to operate. He sat on a stone bench in the yard and pretended not to hear, for no matter their plan he had no interest in following others. Everyone should play on their own, rivers should not mix waters. Just then a large dog dropped in as if from the sky, lunged, and pinned him down, its face looking fiercely intense. His expression went blank, unable to react to what had happened. Tran Haimin, It seemed many things could not be avoided just by wishing to avoid them. What else could he do? Of course he surrendered. In a noodle shop, Lu Dong was ordering 1 bowl of noodles and 1 portion of beef. Yes, sir. The vendor replied and left. Lu Dong rubbed his hands, visibly excited. Before the talk he had gone to a supermarket to buy food. Now his personal stash was plentiful enough for a few days. While the virus had not yet broken out, he must eat well. Soon the noodles and beef were served. The vendor smiled and said, all set, please enjoy at your pace. Lu Dong could not wait, slurp. He took a big gulp. The noodles were springy, and the broth was rich. He lifted a bite of noodles and a slice of beef, and it tasted amazing. Suddenly he paused and considered a question: if they had acted decisively in the square and eliminated the vectors, would the virus have stopped spreading? Without the virus, would the remaining time basically be a vacation in the small town? The more he thought the more he felt regret, wishing he could ride a time machine back a few hours. Sadly there is no regret medicine, so he could only binge on good food to vent his frustration. Soon the noodles were gone and the beef was finished. He wiped his mouth and called the vendor, 1 more, fried noodles. He would turn sorrow into appetite. It was just that his stomach was already full, so it was a bit of a waste of money. But no fear, he was not short of money. In a short while the plate of fried noodles was empty too. He stared at the menu and pondered what else to try. At that moment, a man with a blank face walked straight from the door to his side and said coldly, "That is enough." The man was none other than Chengdu. Thinking it was not convenient to talk inside, he had waited at the door. Who knew the guy kept ordering more, so Chengdu could not resist, tied Burger at the door, and marched in. Lu Dong froze. Who is this? Why does he look familiar? I have no time or energy to chatter with you here. Chengdu could not hold back. You had close contact with a vector, you likely carry the virus on your body, you must go into isolation. Come with me now. Hearing he might be carrying the virus, Lu Dong was stunned by the sudden news, paid his bill, and followed Chengdu out in a daze. In a supermarket, Jai Jai was shopping. Winter goods like fur coats, padded pants, and cotton boots were all on her list. "Miss, this outfit looks great, would you like to try it on?" the attendant recommended warmly. Jai Jai waved her hand and said casually, "No need." "But the outfit you are wearing now." The attendant seemed hesitant. "What is it?" Jai Jai shivered slightly. The attendant held back for a while and finally squeezed out, "The back is a bit dirty." "Dirty, how could that be?" Jai Jai's eyes shifted. After a thought, she changed her mind and smiled, "Thanks for the reminder, please bring me a clean set then." In the fitting room, she finally discovered that at some point strange powder had smeared onto her coat, and on her pants as well. "Did a player mark me with glow powder?" As she said it, she ground her teeth. The player base has really leveled up. Even so, she was still uneasy and inspected herself several times. Shortly after, she keenly noticed a faint fragrance drifting from her body. It was hard to notice in a crowd, yet easy to catch in. The cramped fitting room. Could someone have sprayed perfume on me? No way. She searched quietly for a long time and finally found that even after changing clothes, the soles of her shoes still carried the scent. Jai Jai, Just how ruthless were the players she matched with this time? So she changed her shoes without hesitation. After paying and leaving the market, her whole look brightened, with nothing old left. Certain there was no problem, she stepped out, and Jai Jai, Why though? She could not understand, for she had clearly changed everything. Tahan looked at her in surprise and declared, "Among 100 players there are not many women, I recognized your face." Jai Jai felt her heart grow tired at once. How many identification methods had she prepared in the end, and did other players even have a way to live? The author spoke their mind. The system cried that more than half the pigs had fled the pen. Please, brave warriors, go catch them back. NK Books. The 5 warriors set out to catch pigs, The system said with arrogant pride, "No, not allowed, no negotiations." Tahan said with a grief-stricken face, "Let us begin, the sooner we catch them all the sooner we finish." Chapter 84, The Small Town Virus 6. The eyes of the three with Deep Tan were vacant and blank. Tahan led Burger back and declared, "The 5 of us will each isolate one person, the virus will be sealed off completely." Deep Tan was silent for a long time and asked, "Didn't we say we would act on the second day? Why is everything done on the first day?" Tahan thought and replied, "Plans cannot keep up with changes." Deep Tan wanted to hit someone. Chengdu scoffed, "We draft a rough plan first and refine it later. We do not have to obey the original workflow. Now that you are in isolation, the goal is reached and the process is unimportant." "No, the process is very important." Deep Tan kept a calm face and thought that they clearly had strength, so why did it feel like they were hugging someone's thigh? But Chengdu did not care. When the last person entered, the system voice sounded, "The virus mother body has entered isolation, 91 infected people have entered isolation, the virus has been fully isolated." With different isolation times, players exhaled in relief. The guess was verified, placing patients and close contacts in isolation together truly works. Next we will see whose bad luck triggers, please not me. Hearing this, Tahan quickly tallied. There were 100 players, 3 came late, 5 resisted at the supermarket door, 2 were knocked out at the pharmacy door, leaving 90, plus Professor Tran makes 91 infected. But what is the virus mother body? is it the boy from the start? She realized the boy might be a special existence this round. The first day ended. The second day was quiet. The third day was peaceful. At noon on the fourth day after lunch, Tohan noticed gray-black spots on her nail. Notice 1, carriers may show dry cough, blood cough, and black fingertips for example. She muttered that she might be hit. It made sense since the boy coughed beside her and she was most exposed. She did not mind it. She planned to level up on the fifth day and all debuffs would vanish. At 9 in the morning the next day the system said, the fifth day of the game. The transparent panel showed name Tohan, real name verified, level 6 with experience 0 of 30, job 1 nutritionist with advanced talents not upgradable, job 2 soap maker with intermediate talents and experience 15 of 30, belly firmness 740 of 740, cleanliness 740 of 740, and stamina 740 of 740. At the same time the bad state disappeared. She glanced at her nail and the color returned to normal and the urge to cough was gone. Everything went to plan. She sat on the sofa and flipped a magazine like on vacation. At 9 on the sixth day the speaker said, Room 02 found a new source, Room 13 found a new source, Room 18 found a new source, Room 83 found a new source, from now the rest may act freely. Her door opened. There are 16 new sources. In the corridor players gathered in small groups. She looked around and could not find her teammate and wondered what he was doing. Voices buzzed all around. Most are safe, let us join to kill the new sources so the town has no virus. I agree, on the first day we fled thoughtlessly, why not finish it, kill the root and be done. To protect the innocent majority, the very few must sacrifice. Tohan was speechless. Was everyone itching to cause trouble? Do not do redundant things, she warned coldly. The guy once caught by her knew her ferocity and only asked softly. If you push them they will blow the doors and escape the hospital, she said. Once exposed to sources, civilians become infected and then we must lock another person. We finally brought the situation under control and I will not allow any fool to ruin it. Earlier the fools ran and almost left a mess we could not fix, now you want more trouble, be quiet and stop scheming, I cannot always clean up after you. Even a godly teammate cannot protect a herd of pigs. Luckily many still knew to follow the smart one when they had no good plan. She had told them not to run and dragged escapees back, proving her mind and power were top tier. If you cannot devise, then listen to the expert. Someone mumbled, being right at first does not mean being right now. Even so he hid and did not show his face. Beat down the rebels and the rest will follow my arrangement, right? She rolled up her sleeves ready to fight. She knew most agreed and would not step out, only a few would kick. If she could not control the field she would have slipped away, why care about others? Precisely because it was still under control she dared to stand here. That was indeed the case and no one risked objecting. Then Deepton said in a deep voice, I also think cleansing sources is not suitable. Do you recall what the system called the first patient, the virus mother body? I suspect once the boy dies the situation will worsen. If the boy does not die the virus is not uprooted and clearing others changes nothing. With two voices set, players gave up the idea. She breathed out as the field stabilized. He leaned close and asked, Chengdu is also a new source, what will you do? Tohan paused. She saw nothing to worry about since he could swallow medicine to go out. She kept a straight face, good, staying inside lets him calm patients and prevent overreaction. He was speechless. Were these two really teammates and not enemies? After a short silence to clear her thoughts she said, please watch closely for anyone two-faced who may stir trouble, I will find Professor Tran. Go ahead, I will guard here, he accepted at once. She felt there were too few troublemakers in this dungeon, but at this point she could only take it step by step. After 16 infections were confirmed, hidden passages appeared in the single isolation rooms with signs guiding patients to move. Crossing a long corridor and climbing stairs, more than 10 companions reached a temporary base. Chengdu felt the system had created a patient camp to spark internal conflict. As he reached the ground, he heard a hiss. Another unlucky ghost arrives. Groans echoed and gloom filled the air. Damn it, 90 players and only a few of us got hit. NK Books. Stamina minus 60 per day, how to live to the 10th day, better swallow a bullet. Damn it, why could I not hide outside? Now I became a news source in front of everyone. Where is my face? Calm down, you are infected, not scheduled to die tomorrow, he thought, and because he knew their minds were unstable, he did not rush to take medicine. The others snapped their heads toward him. Shoving everyone into isolation was a lousy idea. Happy now, you are a news source facing the crowd. Karma, this is karma. The others fell silent. A man in a suit frowned and asked, "Are you not afraid?" "The hospital is not small and supplies should suffice to treat 17 people, he answered. "You say enough is enough," someone laughed in anger. He opened his eyes, glanced at him, and said coolly, "If supplies are short, I will fill the gap and guarantee you live to the 10th day. Everyone was shocked. In their hearts they shared the same thought, is this man serious? Chapter 85, Little Town Virus 7. My teammate is outside and she is fiercely tough. If anyone relies on brute force to break through, she will make the remaining players strike together. After eliminating the pathogen, the others all squat in the isolation room. Rushing out is courting death and also wastes your qualification to compete, so why bother? The air suddenly falls silent. After a long while, someone finally comes to his senses and mutters, "You say everyone can live until day 10, who knows if you are bragging?" Chunyu counters, "If you reject my plan, do you have a better choice?" The man is speechless. He cannot find a way to live, so there is no better option. Since there is no other exit, why are you objecting? Chunyu is annoyed. The man shouts angrily, "No other choice does not mean your words are reliable, who knows what you want? A bunch of people losing 60 stamina every day are half disabled already, what is there worth scheming for?" Chunyu sneers. Just then the loudspeaker sounds, "Patients, please note, the hospital has ample medicine, doctors are working overtime researching a cure, please keep a positive mindset and welcome the challenge with optimism. The situation is stable, so please do not give up treatment." The female voice sounds vaguely familiar. After listening a moment, Chunyu affirms, "My teammate. Real or fake?" Others think the same when the speaker changes. "Hello everyone, I am Professor Tran, I have several things to tell you. We believe in 5 to 7 days we will successfully create the cure. Starting tomorrow morning, each patient will receive 2 doses of trial medicine, please take them on time. Based on results after use, we will keep optimizing the plan. Remember, you are not fighting alone, we are also striving with all our might." The broadcast ends and the patients look calmer, as if soothed. Chunyu stresses again, "I said this is an infectious bacterium, not an instant death sentence, everyone stay clear-headed." The patients finally take it in. In the corridor, the healthy players exhale together after hearing the broadcast. So it is not incurable and there is a treatment. There are only 16 patients, if the hospital supplies enough drugs even without a perfect cure, dragging it to day 15 is fine. So why did I just want to silence people? Everyone thinks back in shock. A stirring to make trouble had sprung up unbidden. Maybe because the healthy players are the majority while sources of infection are easy to dislike and only a dozen. Deep Tan's eyes are complicated and he whispers, "So you went to confirm the medicine stock and research progress, quick reaction." He feels that with more time he might find a method, yet losing on speed is still losing. He hurried to supervise the healthy players and forgot to ask Professor Tran to calm the crowd. On day 6 the patients receive trial drugs. The trial drug is semi-finished and unstable, and after use stamina increases by about 15 to 25. One person's eyes flicker with calculation. If one dose adds 15 to 25, what about swallowing 3 at once? Thinking so, he snatches 3 doses to gulp them. But Chunyu draws his gun even faster. As he finishes speaking, 5 more people pull guns and aim at the thief. Cold sweat beads on the thief's forehead. He finds his petty cleverness brings no benefit and instead pushes him against 15 other players. Then fix that crooked thought and hand 1 dose back. Chunyu says low. The man complies honestly. 16 patients each get 2 doses. After use, slow cases recover 30 stamina and fast cases recover 50 stamina. Thus the daily loss of 60 is no longer terrifying. Chungyu occupies the sofa without ceremony and rests with eyes closed, waiting for the official cure. On day 7 the trial remains semi-finished and raises stamina about 17 to 26. On day 8 the trial is semi-finished and raises about 18 to 29. On day 9 the trial approaches finished and raises about 22 to 32. Meanwhile the healthy players go fully wild. They stock goods, eat skewers, enjoy delicate snacks, buy some winter items and even fancy climbing gear. More than one person mutters that this is not survival but a tour group of 100 shopping, playing and eating with laughs. All this is thanks to a few people controlling the situation well. On day 10 the finished cure appears, which adds 40 stamina and removes the new virus. As the patients drink the cure the system's mechanical voice rings, the cure is successfully developed, within 5 days patients recover together, the virus is gone, congratulations to players of Littletown H11. Since players cleared the instance early you may leave now and it will count as a successful clear with experience equal to 15 days inside. You may also act freely in the instance and wait for day 15 for auto-teleport. Early clear achieved. Tahan considers leaving early since staying does nothing. Just then a man strolls over smiling, "Thanks, the broadcast was timely." It is Chungyu's little teammate not seen for days. Tahan frowns, "Out already?" Outsiders might think he just left prison. Chungyu sits casually and lazily says, "They developed the cure, of course, the sick recovered, so there is no need to confine us." That is odd. Tahan props her chin and says coolly, "By rights your clears match mine and you would level on day 5, why are you still infected?" Chungyu stays calm, "Because several times I did not choose bonus reward experience plus 5, so I leveled on day 10. Tahan understands. He lowers his voice, "Leveling on day 10 fully restores attributes and wipes all debuffs, so after careful math I kept several trial doses." Tahan is speechless. The infected who survive already want to thank the heavens, yet this man still hoards goods. She thinks humans cannot stop him from stockpiling. "Still, does your personal stash have space?" "Yes, the hospital provides 3 meals a day but not daily necessities, using some items just frees up space." Chunyu calculates precisely. Tahan is out of words. At this time Deepton approaches to greet. "Some players are grateful that you two led the clear, so they pooled together a gift to show thanks. Some had fled everywhere and some almost went on a killing spree that could ruin things, so they dare not face you and asked me to pass the words." "No need." Chungyu refuses crisply, "We did not control the situation for gratitude, we only want a clean clear. These days few repay favors, why not take the supplies?" Deepton is puzzled since they do not look like saints who refuse rewards. Tahan admits frankly, "We want them but our personal stash is limited and cannot fit." She gestures aside, "This person next to me is even worse off." Chungyu helplessly admits it. Deepton is speechless. Tahan says offhand, "Then accept on our behalf. A clever player should live longer. If the smooth clear were my credit I would accept without hesitation, but now." He laughs, then suddenly turns solemn, "Taking it against my conscience is not allowed by my pride." "Then there is no way, so we refuse." Tahan sighs with regret. She even complains inwardly that if bonus rewards can grant a second profession, why not a second personal stash? The gift is not delivered and instead hurts his pride, so he leaves with a dark face. Tahan yawns and says lazily, "I plan to withdraw, what about you?" "I will stroll around once more." Chungyu replies. She almost advises him to spare his stash because it is already crying like a chubby kid over 200 caddies. But she never meddles with others' playstyles, so she swallows the words, "I will exit first, see you next game." With that she turns into white light and vanishes. Looking into the distance, Chungyu sounds rarely wistful. Has she never thought of meeting in real life? The author shares a thought. In the game patients do not infect each other, which is like the system encouraging. disputes so it lets them share hardship as a patient camp. Chapter 86, Small Virus Town 8. Name, Tahan, identity verified. Rank, 6, experience value 10 out of 30. Profession 1, nutrition expert, all advanced talents, cannot level further. Profession 2, soap maker, all intermediate talents, experience value 25 out of 30. Belly firmness 740 out of 740. Cleanliness 740 out of 740. Stamina value 740 out of 740. Next she received 75 points, and gained additional clearance rewards, allowed to choose two options. A. Experience value plus 5. B. Maximum limits of belly firmness, cleanliness, and stamina each plus 20. C. Obtain a copper rocket launcher. A rocket launcher? Tahan's eyes shifted. After a moment's thought, she chose options A and C. Experience value increased by 5, and then her talent rank rose by 1. Advanced talent skill. In the dungeon, each day there is a 60% chance to receive 2 handmade fragrance soap bars, a 15% chance to receive 3 handmade fragrance soap bars plus 2 clove soap bars, and a 2% chance to obtain a precious fragrance soap. Selection complete, the game cabin opened. Tahan stood up and turned to log into the survival game forum. While playing, several conjectures had flashed through her mind. Considering safety, she could not test paths to death, so she had to endure. Now that the dungeon had ended, she urgently wanted the answers. The hottest post was titled Chicken Game. I was only late by 1 minute and the system really kicked me out, sick. Opening the post, Tahan found the OP nearly erupting. He said he only wanted to get ahead of others by going to the big pharmacy to buy supplies. But the shop was crowded and queues were long, so he returned later than expected. Unexpectedly, the system did not hesitate and eliminated him. Eliminated. Suddenly shocked, he vented at the game and sought release, but the comments below were not friendly. One wrote, "Are you an idiot? Didn't others know to rush the supermarket and pharmacy first?" Of course they feared not arriving at the square in time, risking random elimination, so they took action. Another said, "If you survived until the 8th round, don't be naive. The system said everyone must arrive before 9 o'clock, that means before 9, even 1 second late will not do." Others mocked that fools think themselves clever yet were eliminated for tardiness, some offered bitter advice, some joked, but no one truly comforted the OP. The OP left angrily. Meanwhile a post titled Another Open-Ended Dungeon, Share Your Old Stories quickly rose. It already had over 200 posts below. Tahan lit up and opened it. Players poured out grievances. One recounted, "I decided to be ruthless and pulled the trigger." Seconds later the system announced the virus mother's body was dead. If healthy people appeared within 50 meters of that body's location, they had a high chance of infection. If the healthy person had wounds, the infection chance multiplied. The debuff instantly expanded from 5 meters to 50 meters, and then the poster realized that the death alone was not the worst because a group of players who had contact with the boy long ago now each carried infection risk. Another complained, "A bunch of idiot teammates. I earnestly advised that the virus mother must not die and should not be killed. But see, the virus mother died, antibodies vanished, and hospitals could not research a cure." Soon a fully armed manhunt team set out to eliminate infection sources and infected civilians. Easy difficulty was turned into hell, damn it. One narrated that the dungeon was wiped clean. At first players, the boy, and a professor went to the hospital for quarantine. Later a player became a new infection source and faced pursuit by all other players. No one could withstand dozens of attackers. He realized the game depended on luck, not pure skill. Others described chaos once someone became a new infection source. Players scattered, fugitives were chased like dogs and infected healthy civilians, creating an infinite vicious loop. By day 9, 2/3 of the town's civilians became infection sources and triggered the death halo state, which deducted 100 stamina per day. Moreover, both -100 and -60 effects apply, meaning a single day could deduct 160 stamina. One account said, "Grind to day 10 with grit, tears of joy flow, finally I might escape this demonic dungeon." But supplies are exhausted. Many summarized that the virus mother's death is unacceptable because it removes antibodies, preventing hospitals from finding an antidote. Numbers of infection sources vary and players' challenge difficulty differs. Easy versions might involve armed teams bringing suspects to quarantine rooms, harder ones might see suspects killed on the spot. If unlucky enough to activate the death halo, losing 100 stamina per day, unless you had massive supplies in personal storage or miraculously leveled up before death to fully restore attributes, there was no other way to clear. Players noted small virus town offered high freedom and that difficulty is decided by player actions. Some servers were lucky to encounter a grand veteran who led people safely into hospital quarantine and succeeded in isolating the source. Eventually only 5 heroes stood outside the quarantine room and things were resolved. On day 10 the hospital developed a cure, everyone was saved, and the system declared early clearance. Some mocked, some were astonished and grateful. Tahan did not expect the dungeon to have cleared while players still argued for over half a day. About to close the forum, she remembered to check the latest stats. Latest notice, 660,000 players joined the 8th round, 270,000 passed the gate, pass rate 41%. 346 players cleared, surviving 15 days. Tahan keenly realized competition would only intensify later. The next morning she logged in and the machinery voice announced, "Welcome to Infinite Survival Game, you currently have 75 points. Okay, directly enter the game." Tahan agreed. White light flashed and she vanished. When she opened her eyes, she stood on a barren field. At the same time the system voice began the briefing, "This round is a zombie survival game, players must use all their strength to survive." Note 1, after surviving 10 days, a player qualifies to request exit from the dungeon at any time. Note 2, if stamina drops to 0, the character dies and the player loses qualification. Note 3, the more days survived, the richer the clearance rewards. Note 4, if a player completes the extreme challenge, survives 20 days, they receive extra rewards. After 20 days any surviving lucky players will be automatically teleported out. Note 5, Shelter I-22, your server, contains 1,000 players, 4,000 NPCs, and 50,000 zombies. 50,000. A 10-to-1 ratio. Tahan's vision darkened at the unprecedented pressure. Thinking the briefing finished, the system added, Note 6, once wounded by a zombie, players contract an unknown virus that deducts 100 stamina per day. Note 7, the virus outbreak range is unclear and has been half a year, edible plants around are depleted and all food, clean water, and medicine are scarce. Note 8, the vast majority of lucky survivors gather in shelters with unspecified coordinates, players must scout for them. Tahan inhaled, closed her eyes briefly, steeled herself, and set off cautiously into the new survival world. Chapter 87, The First Shelter. Tahan gazed into the distance and saw desolation on all sides with not a single blade of grass. She murmured, "It feels like being locked in war, but harsher than before." In the war instance there were still many resource spots. Even when stocks were scarce players could find other ways to fill their stomachs. This round was different, there was no green anywhere and food was frighteningly scarce. Still she was not worried because periodic supplies and daily necessities kept her fed. The only worry was choosing to go to the shelter or fight alone. For survival she often got dragged into trouble for no clear reason. Once involved she had to control the situation lest one reckless player wipe the team. Team play was exhausting, especially with a group full of ideas yet deaf to commands. Whatever, let them get wiped, she decided to let herself loose. She looked around and picked a direction at random. She halted at a strange noise and the sound grew closer as she listened. The instance was vast, so why did it run straight to her? She exhaled softly, drew the Desert Eagle, and raised it to aim. Just then a little girl vaulted a big pit ahead and exhaled slowly. 2 foolish zombies chased and plunged into the pit. What are you doing? At first she thought the girl was fleeing for her life but soon saw she was luring zombies into the pit. Why lure them? Zombies were not worth keeping. Seeing an adult with a pistol, the girl's pupils tightened and her hairs stood up. The system's mechanical voice chimed, "Day 1 of the game." At the same time her inventory gained a slice of black bread, a bottle of milk, and 2 handmade scented soaps. She pretended to pull the bread from her coat and asked calmly, "Want to eat?" The girl answered off balance, "Do not want," yet her nose twitched, her neck trembled, and desire leaked from her eyes. This adult was strange. The girl pouted, shuffled closer, grabbed the bread, and gnawed. She thought the food surely had a problem. But hunger made thinking hard. The craving pressed her nerves as if every cell screamed for food. She opened wide and chewed greedily without meaning to. "Eat slowly or you will choke." Tahan handed her a bottle of milk. The girl widened her eyes but grabbed it without hesitation and went glug glug, draining over half in one go. Tahan wondered how long the child had gone without a proper meal, for her body was thin, her head small, and her hair dry and yellow with malnutrition. In a few short minutes the girl finished the bread and emptied the milk. Books. After eating she carefully licked her fingertips as if savoring the aftertaste. "Done, can you answer my question now?" Tahan asked. The girl's eyes lit up and she asked back, "Do you have lots of food?" "I ask and you answer," Tahan said bluntly, "otherwise people would think you treated me." "Forget it then," the girl muttered but quickly rallied, "Ask, if I know I will tell you." First question, Tahan pointed at the zombies flailing in the pit and asked with curiosity, "Are you so bored that you play with zombies?" "Not playing," the girl's face darkened though her voice stayed clear, "I found a hidden house and there might be food and drink inside." Tahan's heart stirred because a hidden house sounded like a good stop. The girl continued, "I know a nearby shelter with quite a few survivors." Tahan thought and said, "Take me to the house you picked." The girl dawdled and would not move. "Relax, even if you clear out the items it is fine, I want the house." Tahan met her gaze. Hearing that, the girl brightened at once. For safety she still asked, "Why did you give me black bread and milk?" "Because I do not like black bread," and her inventory was almost full anyway. Not like black bread, in times when anything to eat was luck, yet this person was picky. The girl fell silent. Roar, the 2 zombies in the pit howled to assert their presence. Tahan was about to fire but thought better, lowered the gun, and asked, "What do you know about zombies?" "They move slowly, sight and hearing are poor, smell is average. They love fresh blood and chase that scent without restraint. The only weak point is the head, and once it is badly damaged they die completely. If a human is wounded by a zombie they may catch an unknown virus, either die or become a new zombie," the girl rattled off. Then she frowned at Tahan with suspicion. "It has been half a year since the accident and even a kid like me knows this, why do you not know?" Tahan sighed, "I just came down from a big mountain so I do not know the situation." "A big mountain?" The girl widened her eyes in surprise. "Yes. After the accident my family and I took stored rice and flour into the mountains and waited for things to settle before coming out. But I got bored up there so I slipped out alone to see the outside world," she lied solemnly to a child. Rice and flour enough for decades, the girl counted on her fingers then feverishly calculated how much. Tahan pulled out steel pellets and a sling and aimed at the zombies' heads. Soon the 2 zombies turned into white light. "Let us go to that secret house," she urged. The other party lacked no food and did not seem eager to harm the child. After thinking it through, the girl led the way eagerly, "This way." A moment later, before a square warehouse, Tahan pointed and asked flatly, "This is your hidden house, you call this a house?" She had expected a place to live. "Yes, a house," the girl pointed at the boxy depot as if nothing was wrong. Tahan turned to leave at once. The girl panicked and hugged her thigh, then split in half, "Or 4 to 6, or 3 to 7, I do not mind, I take 3 and you take 7. Others might hog the spoils, but a rare reasonable adult stirred the girl's hope to sip some soup. "Whatever the split, I do not need it," Tahan said plainly, and even if she took it there was nowhere to store it. The girl's spirits sank at once. Clearly she had been misled, yet somehow it looked like she bullied a child. Did you not dig that big pit already? Tahan consoled. Lure 2 each time and one day it will be cleared, keep it up. I get it, you can go, the girl said with low spirits yet forced herself to rally. These days no one is reliable. Because kindness breeds dependence and unconscious hope for more, that was her fault. Sorry, I cannot help. Tahan took out another slice of black bread. Wish you the best. Thank you, the girl gave a faint but sincere smile. Though the others sometimes teased her, she had done nothing excessive. Tahan could not name the feeling in her chest. In the end she turned and left quickly. After walking far she sat on a smooth rock and quietly steadied herself. Before reaching the depot she had seen more than 20 zombies roaming and suddenly realized a grave issue. This run had enemies in terrifying numbers who never tired and loved to swarm. If she faced them head on, her bullets would run out fast. Even steel pellets would not last long. When ranged tools ran dry she would have to grit her teeth in melee. A single scratch from a zombie's claw would infect her and each day would subtract 100 stamina. Human wave tactics are scary, she felt a dull headache. She had to admit that no matter how good she was still human and could not fight hundreds alone. Hold on, fight hundreds alone, fine, a rocket launcher. She suddenly recalled her extra reward was a rocket launcher. Paired with her gift to draw ammo from little teammates, it would be a devastating weapon. But to find those teammates she had to go to the shelter. Round and round it still came back to the shelter. Was this the fate one could not escape? Sadly she was not used to yielding to fate. After thinking along while she chose to let herself loose again, play solo with ease, find a safe hideout, and when swarmed evade instead of clash. Chapter 88, Shelter 2. She almost thought she was back in the desert dungeon, for no matter how she walked the scenery hardly changed. Just then she smelled roasted meat. Tahan's heart trembled, and she followed the scent. From afar came broken voices. Pa pa. This biscuit is dry and rough, my throat hurts. Whatever, if you cannot eat then stop. Put it in your mouth, sip some water, close your eyes, do not gulp. So bad, truly bad, half a year ago I would have tossed it into the trash without a glance. Braggart. Fancy words, only a bit better than usual, talking about fine drinks and food. Does your family own a mine? Why are you eating alone, only the salted meat? Does your conscience hurt? Not at all. Everyone has one portion of salted meat, you finished yours, what has it to do with me? You. The closer she came the clearer their talk grew. At about 7 to 8 meters, Tahan cleared her throat to announce herself. Who goes there? In the next second 2 pistols and 1 rifle pointed at her. One man did not raise a gun, his face pale with anger as he barked a question. Tahan swept her gaze and understood at once. It was a 4-person squad, 3 with guns and the lasted driver. She raised both hands and spoke gently. No malice, I just passed by. A burly man scanned her and the space behind her with caution. After a long look he found nothing and slowly asked. All alone? What is it? The man went straight to the point. I am lost. Tahan's face did not change. I walked for a long time and saw only wasteland, no shelter, no people, no houses. Not even a single blade of grass. The man could not help saying, I do not care why you are here, if nothing else then leave now. The world had ended. Yet Tahan had never planned to beg. She used a businesslike tone, calm and firm. You have a car, right? If I hitch a ride to the shelter, what is the price? Wandering the wilds and sometimes meeting zombies by chance was worse than heeding fate and waiting in a shelter. If they grew malicious, Tahan lowered her eyes, then she would kill them, take the car, and drive herself, only the lack of a guide would be troublesome. With ample ammo, great stamina, and grenades in her inventory, she had many cards unplayed, so no fear showed on her face. The 4 exchanged looks, unsure where her confidence came from. The horseman replied, we can take you for a bit, but can you pay? We accept food, water, daily goods, and medicine. Tahan thought, no need to lie, I have all that. She disliked trouble, and would avoid it if possible. She put her hands in her pockets, then drew out 2 bars of scented soap and said seriously, "Handmade scented soap by me." The 4 were stunned. After the virus outbreak, survivors fled, factories closed, and daily necessities grew scarce. In such times, practical skills were valuable and popular. At least the man knew one shelter trade team had found supplies and was seeking craftsmen like bakers and cooks. His face turned solemn and his manner warm. "Heading to the shelter, no problem, it is on our way." "Are 2 bars of soap enough for the fare?" she asked. He nodded again and again. "Enough, enough." "Good." She handed over the soap and sat nearby. The squad kept gnawing their rations in misery. Tahan glanced around and could not help asking, "Why stop to eat? Why not eat while driving? Are you not afraid of a zombie encirclement?" The man answered, "Our car is old, after more than 20 minutes it stalls." Tahan fell silent. So they had not parked here on purpose. 15 minutes later the 4 finished eating. Tahan sat in the passenger seat, endured the bumps and the old car stalling again and again, and after 2 hours they reached the shelter. The shelter had a peculiar style. The center was ringed with wooden fences. Inside stood rows of tidy wooden houses. Guards watched both gates. Outside the fence, thatch huts and tents mixed in chaos, as if thrown up without design. Some were sturdy while others were ragged and leaked wind and rain. 2. Live in the inner ring you pay daily protection and other fees. Guards watch the gates, even a quick look still costs a toll. Compared to that, outer ring rentals are cheaper, if money is tight you can share. Wishing to be friendly, the young man explained with patience. Tahan nodded. "Good, I know, thank you very much." She wanted to give another bar of soap, but felt it would draw attention and cause trouble, so she dropped the idea. After they left, one teammate whispered in doubt, "We just let her go?" Letting a fat sheep go so lightly made him fear for his sleep. The young man groaned. "She is a craftswoman, not a warehouse. How would you force her to make soap? Keep good ties first, later we can ask favors." "A's." The other slumped and sighed. "Why did I not learn a trade before doomsday? If I could make soap or cook I would not risk my life in this job, I would be in a shelter enjoying life. That is why they say, master math and science and you fear nothing under heaven." The young man sighed, hating his past laziness. Tahan watched the crowds for a while and soon realized that the real shelter was the inner ring, the area within the fence. If players could pay the price they entered the center and enjoyed VIP treatment. On normal days NPCs protected them and good wooden houses were provided. Players outside must risk scavenging and beware of sudden zombie raids. The outer ring was a mixed bag where someone might stab you in the dark. The gap in treatment was like heaven and hell. As Tahan mused, a loud hawking rose nearby. "Look here, special news, inside zombie heads there is a tiny chance of a crystal the size of a fingertip." How could a zombie grow a crystal? Stop the nonsense. How low is tiny exactly? Sounds like a scam, do real work instead. A man in a white coat and gold frames, looking like a researcher, walked up. He spoke slowly in a cool voice. "Believe it or not, I will say this, I will pay high to buy the crystal, 1 piece for 50 kilograms of rice, bring me the right one and I will trade as many as you have." People were half convinced. True or false? But the price of 50 kilograms of rice was tempting, and some were moved. Survivors now thought only of how to stock supplies and how to stock more. As for zombies, few wished to think of them. Unless trapped while scouting, they would rather flee than fight. Now the rumor of crystals gave them a reason to fight. 1 piece could trade for 50 kilograms of rice, charge. Hearts wavered. Some survivors thought it would not hurt to try. Tahan watched coldly from the side. Claims that zombie brains held crystals that could brew a panacea granting immunity were clearly a lie, spread to coax survivors to fight zombies. In the server there were 1,000 players, 4,000 NPCs, and 50,000 zombies. Roughly, if each person killed 10, the dungeon would be cleared. But reality was not that simple. Thus from the start Tahan never planned a frontal clash. The authors shared a thought. Chung Dui, even after reaching the shelter, the little teammate's mind is not on finding people. Question: why are you sure it is a plot? Tahan, what kind of noob game reveals the antidote recipe on day 1, then why call it an unknown virus? Chapter 89, Shelter 3. In other words, in a short span the number of zombie hunters may surge, yet the grand total around 50,000 will barely shift. After thinking it through, Tahan stopped caring how this would develop and focused on finding people. All along, Chung Du has been the one who stands out in a sea of faces. The moment he appears, those around him seem to fade at once. So after a loop around the outer ring without spotting the little teammate, Tahan realized either he had not arrived yet or had gone inward. On second thought it was best to tour the whole map to learn the basics, so she walked toward the gate. Entering once requires 100 grams of rations. You must leave before 4 in the afternoon. The guard raised a hand to stop her. Tahan paid it no mind, flicked out a packet of instant noodles, and tossed it over, exactly 100 grams. The guard nodded and stepped aside. Go in. Tahan strolled in at ease. The outer ring felt like a refugee camp, while the inner ring resembled a small backwater town from before Doomsday. There were not only single rooms for rent but also shops wide open for trade. With a glance Tahan found a general store, a mini-market, a bun shop, and even a trading office that specialized in bullets and gasoline. On both sides of the road a few boards displayed hiring notices. A certain caravan was recruiting new hands with generous terms and hoped people would sign up. Overall everything looked fine, only the little teammate was still missing. Tahan was quite vexed and wondered where Chung Du had gone, why his shadow was nowhere to be seen, and whether he still needed a rocket launcher. Yet there was no way around it because she could not find him. After a thought she stepped into the trading office. Welcome. As soon as she entered, the receptionist offered a standard smile, polite yet not distant. Is this your first time shopping here? Good, please follow me. The receptionist led the way. Tahan hurried after her. Soon they reached a room in the corner. The receptionist halted and gestured for the customer to enter alone. Please go in. Tahan pushed the door with bold ease. Inside an old man with white hair sat sipping tea. Seeing someone arrive he said kindly, sit. Tahan sat calmly and asked in mild surprise, why make it so complicated? The old man stroked his beard and spoke slowly. Most clients dislike others knowing how much they buy, so we value privacy greatly. No wonder. Tahan understood at once. Next she went straight to the point. What good items do you have? Show me. The old man smiled and handed over a slim booklet. All our products are in here. Flipping through it, Tahan saw clear illustrations with captions, vivid pictures that were obviously hand-drawn. Suddenly she recalled the wooden boards hiring workers that she had noticed earlier. Composed again, Tahan asked, it only lists ammo types and the simplest pistol 5.4, do you not have anything better? For example, timed explosives, armor-piercing rocket rounds, automatic guns, grenades. Tahan rattled off 4 items in one breath. She thought that if separated from Chung Du she might choose armor-piercing rockets and then wield the weapon for a sweeping carnage. After all, the rocket launcher was not a free gift for Chung Du, and if the chance arose she could keep it for herself. The old man shook his head in regret. Sorry, other items are not sold outward. For the shelter's safety, the things they allowed to leave were strictly limited. Tahan felt it was a pity. Yet she quickly realized that not for sale was not the same as not in stock. I always think a deal fails only when the price list fails to move the heart. Tahan said slowly. What offer can you put forth? The old man was very curious. In truth, a few special clients were worth exceptions, but since he began he had met only one. Most people believed themselves special enough to earn respect, but reality seldom agreed. Rice, flour, instant noodles, biscuits, perfume, toothpaste, body wash, toothbrushes, perfumed soap, I have some of each. Tahan answered evenly. Hearing this, the old man's eyelids twitched and his face almost slipped out of control. He wondered whether someone's underground warehouse had been stripped, or whether this girl was actually logistics for some major faction. How could she have so much? Tohan flashed a bright smile and knowingly asked, "So is it worth an exception?" The old man gave a wry smile. "Even so, we can only sell grenades." "Then give me 20 grenades and 70 rounds for the Desert Eagle." Tohan tapped her fingers and decided. What followed was a heated bargaining over prices. In the end, Tohan declared crisply, "Tomorrow at 9 in the morning, goods for goods, do not deviate, it helps no one." She did not finish the deal now because she did not want to expose the existence of the personal stash. Of course. The old man agreed with a smile. Tohan waved goodbye and walked out on her own. Yet as she reached the lobby, she saw a familiar figure. Tohan grew very curious what exactly the little teammate had bought to deserve such VIP treatment. His gaze shifted, and seeing Tohan, he lifted a corner of his mouth and greeted, "Just arrived or about to leave?" "Finished talking, I was about to go." Tohan replied. "Let us go together." Chengdu drew near quite naturally and left shoulder to shoulder with his teammate. They kept silent along the way. Outside the trading office, they tacitly found a quiet corner and finally began to speak in low voices. "About the previous virus dungeon, when did you leave?" Tohan asked first. Chengdu thought that without you, why would I stay? I took a quick look around and came out. The forum mentioned a late-stage melee, but I did not join. Good then. Tohan exhaled and turned to business. What did you buy just now and at what price? I traded away all unneeded food, daily goods, and drinks, and in the end I secured some ointment. Right now medicine is scarce and priced high. As long as you are willing to exchange medicine, everything becomes negotiable. He paused a few beats and sighed. Pity they do not sell rocket launchers, otherwise no matter how high the price I would trade for one. Then his tone shifted. The good news is that my personal stash finally has one empty slot, only heaven knows how long it has been jammed full. Books. Tohan thought this guy was a bit unlucky. She leaned over, took a rocket launcher from her personal stash, and said casually, "Yours." Chengdu! Exclamation point. At that moment only one thought remained. Where did that come from? A supplemental reward after clearing. Tohan answered lightly, "Take it." Without a rocket launcher his second profession would not function, so Chengdu accepted without courtesy. Yet his eyes on Tohan flickered now and then with an unusual light. Lowering his gaze, he feigned nonchalance and asked calmly, "And you, what did you buy?" 20 grenades and 70 rounds for the pistol. Tohan let out a relieved breath. At last I cleared the back stock. Supplies had piled up in my personal stash and never ran out. Moreover, my innate skill triggers irregularly, and the haul of supplies exceeds what I spend. The supplies were truly near bursting. That was no boast but simple truth. She really did not want to demonstrate how one discards food in a survival game. After a few more words, they decided to stay in the outer ring for now. The inner ring was safe but inconvenient for action. They paid 2 cartons of fresh milk as rent for a canvas tent, and Tohan and Chengdu had a temporary foothold. Tohan wanted to cook instant noodles, but the smell would be too strong and could stir the crowd, so she dropped the idea and switched to a chocolate cream cake. Night fell. In the shelter people came and went, cooking smoke curled up, and it looked bustling. After telling the little teammate, Tohan left the tent and wandered at will. Yet not long after. "Did you not say you would not enter the shelter?" A childish voice sounded behind her, full of surprise and oddly familiar. Tohan. She turned around and, as expected, saw the little girl she had met by chance during the day. Plans never catch up with changes, Tohan said honestly. Tohan steered the topic hard. How did your fight go? Did it succeed? How to say this? Tohan frowned slightly. I lured all the zombies at the door outside, then seized the gap while the others were far away to scout. The girl pouted, unhappy. There were several large barrels in the room. I opened them and found a pale yellow liquid inside. It smelled bad and it was undrinkable. In other words, it was all in vain. The girl lowered her head in dejection. It seems the place was not some secret that no one found. They found it but did not want to waste strength, so they left those things. At the same time Tahan grew unconsciously serious. Pale yellow liquid, several large barrels, foul smell, she instinctively thought of mazut oil. The author spoke the thought aloud. Tahan, are you sure you did not pick up the wrong script? Chapter 90, The Fourth Shelter. In truth, the list only covered the most common daily items while the shelter lacked almost everything. If cheap heavy oil truly flooded the market, people could drive out and thus raise their personal safety. On the other hand, heavy oil is a flammable liquid. Around 60 to 70 degrees Celsius it ignites and can explode. Used properly, its power rivals explosives. With a stray thought, Tahan drifted into wild speculation. Whether it was heavy oil was uncertain, perhaps it was beer or something else. By then the little girl had steadied herself. She said, "I will go," then slipped into the crowd and vanished quickly. She muttered softly, so thin and short yet she runs so fast. She shook her head and was about to consider returning to the tent when a joyous shout rang out, "I found a crystal!" Tahan froze and nearly blurted out that it was impossible. "Where is the guy who said a crystal trades for 50 kilograms of rice? Come out now," the man yelled excitedly. Ignoring many stares, he kept shouting, "Buyer of crystals, where are you? Come out, do not go back on your word to frame me." As suspicion rose, a man in a white coat with gold-rimmed glasses who looked like a researcher stepped forward. His face was cool and indifferent as he said, "Where is the crystal?" "Here, right here," the man answered while carefully approaching. "Let me see it," the white coat requested. The man hesitated visibly. The white coat glanced once and said evenly, "You may stand aside and wait for identification, rest assured it will not take long." Only then did the finder reluctantly take out the core. From a small corner, Tahan watched from afar and felt the crystal look like a random little white stone from the ground. The white coat examined it carefully, then after about a minute nodded and concluded, "It is the crystal I want. You see." The man offered the core with a silly grin, rubbing his hands, his eyes full of hope. "We are rich." The lucky man received 50 kilograms of food and jumped with joy, almost going crazy with delight. The white coat reminded calmly, "One crystal can make 3 bottles of medicine. Since you are the first trader, I can gift you 1 bottle. The lucky man shook his head hard. "The material is dug from a zombie head. Can this medicine be drunk? Do not give it to me, give it to someone who needs it." He waved to 2 acquaintances for help, then hefted the rice sack and ran off. The white coat raised his voice, "By tomorrow noon the medicine will be prepared. Anyone who wants a trial may sign up." Who would want to drink that thing? The onlookers complained inwardly. Yet at the thought of rice their hearts burned and their hands trembled slightly with excitement. 50 kilograms of rice would last quite long. Half a day earlier someone had heard the white coat offer a high price, 1 crystal for 50 kilograms of rice. Now they were tempted and wondered whether to try. The crowd surged with emotion while Tahan's face stayed calm yet secretly alarmed. She had thought the other side only spread a clumsy lie to lure civilians to fight and gather as many as possible. Judging by the scene, the other side had prepared follow-up moves. She lacked neither food nor drink, so she stayed steady and noticed simple gaps. After confirming receipt of the crystal, why not pull the man into a room to talk but instead handle it in public? If the fellow truly struck luck with 50 kilograms of rice, was he not afraid of being robbed after getting rich overnight? Yet he carried a few sacks and walked away at ease. As for the system claiming the unknown virus was not understood yet, on the first day the white coat knew the antidote formula and by the second noon produced medicine. Tahan could only scoff. The performance marks were blatant and a calm mind could spot them. However, people in the outer ring of the shelter were close to starving. After judging for herself, a spark flashed and Tahan finally guessed the white coat's plan. A crystal trades for 50 kilograms of rice. For food, many civilians would voluntarily hunt zombies. After a zombie died, it turned into white light, leaving nothing behind. That is normal, yet people would think their luck was bad and they failed to find a crystal in a zombie's brain. For luck and for 50 kilograms of food, they would keep hunting zombies with all their strength. Thus enthusiasm would surge broadly and efficiency would rise across the board. But it was only a scheme because no crystal existed in a zombie's head. In other words, civilians risked bloodshed for nothing. They were exploited without pay. By handing one person a sack of rice, the whitecoat made everyone else circle around. Perhaps not even 50 kilograms are needed. Tohan murmured. If the lucky guy was also a player, he could stash the sack into his personal warehouse out of sight, and the whitecoat would stage the play without spending a coin. Sometime later, Chengdu appeared beside her and warned softly, "Their plot does not end there. Think that the antidote only comes out at noon tomorrow." Tohan was baffled. The show is done, so why add feet to a snake and ruin it? They cannot truly have a cure for an unknown virus. Why dig a pit for themselves? The next instant her pupils tightened and she muttered, "Dr. Talent, Vigor Potion." At the same moment Chengdu said, "Vigor Potion, sold to caravans." They exchanged a glance and understood. The Vigor Potion is a pale blue liquid with a sour apricot taste. After consumption, all three attributes restore to full and every current debuff on a player is cleared. Civilians only know the whitecoat accepted crystals today and will make an antidote tomorrow curing the unknown virus. From the outside it looks exactly like he has the technology and is saving people from fire and water. Yet the non-player characters know nothing of the truth. Chengdu analyzed further. If the 50 kilograms target outer ring civilians, then the antidote aims at the inner ring elites. Everywhere there is always a group sitting atop the pyramid. If an antidote appears, they will surely try every means to secure a dose and hide it. That way all 5,000 non-player characters on the server fall into the trap. Finally Chengdu sighed, "This rhythm drags everyone into the water. The clueless charge to kill while the informed can fold their arms and watch." Tohan murmured, "The dungeon difficulty suddenly drops and the clear rate rises widely, yet I still feel uncomfortable." "Because it is a plot and has no goodwill." Chengdu replied coolly, "The trouble is that once you see the plot then stand aside, you immediately become a beneficiary, so the mood grows complicated. The other party is malicious and begging for a beating. On the other hand, reading the plot benefits us and makes clearing far easier. Most people who discern the plot stay silent because the smoother it goes, the more they profit." The air turned still and they stayed quiet for a long while. At last Chengdu broke the silence and asked, "Will you rush to puncture the lie?" Tohan answered instantly, "I will not." "Oh." Chengdu frowned in mild surprise, "So decisive." Tohan shrugged, "This is survival competition, is it not? Eliminate the unfit and keep the elites to play on. If your mind is sluggish, you should exit early." She then looked at her small teammate and said earnestly, "They dig pits with skill, we read with skill, others get knocked out with skill. It is brutally logical." Chengdu laughed. "Exposing the plot harms someone's interests, and those who benefit will treat you as an enemy. Those who see through the plot are the server's elites. Why offend them? Expecting non-player characters to trust me is naive. Without evidence, how can I prove the whitecoat is ill-intentioned? If proof falls short, I might get burned and be labeled jealous, red-eyed, or maliciously slanderous. If intelligence is above average and reason intact, they will notice the problem unaided. If intelligence is low and emotion overheated, I can rant for ages and they still will not listen. Why? Invite hardship. The most foolish act is saving no one yet dragging yourself into trouble. Therefore, overall, I judge that telling the truth is a losing deal that must not be done." Her last words landed firmly like nails. Chapter 91, Shelter 5. In her personal stash, 3 bottles of milk, 1 slice of pork floss butter bread, 1 piece of chocolate cream cake, 3 handmade fragrance soaps, 2 lilac soaps, and 5 nutrition capsules suddenly appeared. Tohan glanced over them and sighed softly. Deep down, she felt those nutrition capsules had wronged their reputation as precious food. Although one dose boosted belly firmness by 60, cleanliness by 60, and stamina by 60, which sounded powerful, she had never used one since entering the game. Nearly 20 nutrition capsules lay quietly in her stash, entirely unused. It was not rookie class but her being too capable, so they never became necessary. Tohan could only console herself like that. Take the items out for trade. Zhongyu chatted while searching for the depot. In no time, the ground inside the canvas tent was piled with supplies. At dawn, the trade hall dispatched a truck to collect, and the two worked like diligent ants, finally sending off the entire heap. After that, Tahan took the passenger seat, Zhongyu sat in back, and they followed the truck to the trading hall. "Not bad, you can live decently," Zhongyu replied offhand. The driver feigned casual curiosity. "With such a wealthy background, are you not afraid of being robbed?" "So for safety, we hide our wealth and pretend to be poor," Tahan answered seriously. "How do you hide it?" the driver pressed. The driver fell silent, unsure what to say. He pretended not to understand and kept the talk with Tahan, hoping for a breakthrough. "Hey, can you tell me the details?" Unexpectedly, Tahan kept a straight face and refused coolly, "I cannot. Because others do not know the hiding method, it has stayed safe until now." The driver was speechless and drove in silence. Soon the truck stopped at the trading hall entrance. Stepping down, Tahan noticed the staff inside had clearly thinned, seemingly transferred elsewhere. While she observed, the chubby clerk from yesterday hurried out beaming, friendly but no longer attentive. After about 15 minutes, the deal concluded smoothly. In a corner, Tahan reminded in a low voice, "The situation feels off. These are chaotic times, and anything can happen." NK Books. Thus, once aboard, she prepared to fight at any moment. Yet on arrival, the trade went easy and calm. Even as they left, nothing happened. "I think the chubby guy just wanted to clear small chores early to save time for a big deal," Zhongyu said slowly. He nodded slightly. "With a noble guest coming, of course he rushes and treats the small fry perfunctorily. He will lure people to help clean zombies, then exchange vigor potions for food, daily goods, medicine, and weapons." At that point, Tahan shut her mouth, a faint worry between her brows. An opponent with a sharp mind who never shows a bottom line already gives headaches, and with full firepower the trouble multiplies. She did not want to brute force the clearance, but she also had to strike before the other side caught the wind beneath their wings to kill them all. Zhongyu's eyes darkened and he uttered slowly, "The mantis stalks the cicada, while the oriole waits behind." Tahan understood at once, "Use them to clear first, then find a chance to eliminate the people? We have stocked ammo through several dungeons, it should finally earn its keep." Zhongyu smiled. Tahan had wanted to say that acting after a successful trade would make the fight far harder. Zhongyu nodded, "I will dig into the Khan team's background." With plans set, they split up. In truth, Tahan no longer remembered where the warehouse was. Luckily, someone did. Back on the outer ring, she stopped a passerby to ask, "Have you seen a little girl about this tall?" and gestured with her hand. The man did not even look and said, "Never seen, do not know." She pulled a piece of black bread from her pocket and smiled, "If you lead me to that girl, this bread is yours." He changed tune at once, "I know her, that is Yuan. I was too hungry to recall a moment ago." "Come on. I will take you." With that he led the way at ease. Truly, food questions get answers. Tahan shook her head but hurried to follow. At that moment, Yuan was tearing a piece of black bread hidden in her shirt into tiny bits, quietly passing them to a smaller girl and whispering, "Be good, eat up." The little one nodded sensibly and popped them quickly into her mouth, afraid of being seen. After 5 or 6 bites, she stopped and said in a tender voice, "Sister, you keep the rest and eat." "I am not hungry, you eat." Yuan urged. "You work harder, you eat." The girl insisted to the end. "Do not be stubborn." Yuan spoke fast and anxious, as if short on time. "I already ate outside." "Half for each of us." The little one yielded. The two opened their mouths, puffed their cheeks, and finished the bread. Just then a voice carried from afar, Yuan is over there, I am not lying, follow me and see." Yuan's heart tightened and she hurried to swallow the last crumbs. She wiped her sister's mouth, then swiped her own cheeks twice, pretending nothing had happened. The voice drew nearer and clearer, should be there." Yuan turned calmly and saw a familiar face. "Thanks." Tahan tossed the black bread as payment to the guide and sent him off, then strode to the girl, squatted, and asked gently, "You are Yuan, right? Do you take paid chores?" "Deal." Tahan was about to stand when she noticed a smaller girl beside Yuan, looking only about 5 or 6. Yuan rubbed the child's face and explained, "This is my sister." She herself was still at an age needing care, yet she gritted her teeth to hold on and even took care of one younger and frilier. Tahan softened at once. She produced 2 bottles of milk and spoke firm yet warm, "This is a deposit, follow me for one trip today." Yuan looked at her for a long time and murmured, "Thank you." Then she stuffed one bottle into her sister's hands and urged her to drink. The little one obeyed and drained it quickly. "Do you want more?" Yuan asked softly. The girl shook her head, earnest, "You drink." Yuan did not stand on ceremony and, by the rule that what goes into the belly is truly yours, drank it down sip by sip. Tahan watched, honestly afraid she would choke. After finishing, Yuan finally explained, "On the outer ring there are bad people who steal food by brute force. We have nowhere to hide our food, so we must eat it all at once." "That is so hard." Tahan gently patted her head. She did not know why, but she had not cried when robbed, nor when laboring hard only to gain nothing, yet under that warm pat her nose suddenly stung. Taking a breath, she dodged the hand and pretended to be calm. "If nothing else, let us go. The earlier we go, the earlier we return. Besides leaving her at the shelter, what else can we do?" Yuan was helpless, the child was too small to run around. Tahan was speechless. She wanted to help but feared overstepping. After all, there were many pitiable people on the server and she could not save them all. Fortunately, the little girl was cheerful, waved to her sister, "You two go work, I will take care of myself." Let us go, let us go." Yuan tugged Tahan along. Tahan had no words. In the end, the most hesitant one turned out to be her. Regaining composure, Tahan asked, "Do you know where the warehouse is, the secret house you mentioned? Are you interested in the crate?" Yuan's mind was sharp and she reacted instantly. Tahan corrected gently, "Maybe the thing there is what I am interested in, maybe not, we must see it to know." She had experienced the girl's storytelling full of twists. "Come, I will lead you." Yuan agreed readily. They walked in silence. Reaching the warehouse, Yuan peered inside and stated firmly, "There are 13 in total, 2 more than yesterday. Zombies roam everywhere, probably drifted in from elsewhere." Looking up, she asked, "Shall I lure them into the pit again?" "No need, just stand silly at the side." Tahan thought that making a child risk pulling mobs would weigh on her conscience. Scanning the scene, she reckoned there might be oil drums inside, so explosions would be unwise. Melee would be too risky, and by comparison a slingshot suited better. The next moment, Tahan produced a slingshot and steel balls and began to fire. Books. Chapter 92, Shelter 6. For some reason the target zombie took 2 more steps and let its arm drop. The steel pellet struck the arm and ricocheted. Tahan sighed a little. On the very first day of the game she learned that only headshots truly hurt zombies. Hitting other parts does not reduce their stamina. At the same time the provoked zombie grew enraged. Tahan stayed composed and kept firing. 1 hit, a second hit, a third hit, the zombie had barely covered half the distance before it turned into white light. She glanced around and saw the others ignore the vanished ally and keep wandering. Half an hour later all zombies were cleared. Nguyen stood quietly to the side without a word. Tahan went to the crates, opened them, and found they were indeed filled with mazut oil. Each drum held 100 liters and there were 40 drums in total. She pondered briefly and made up her mind. She took out 2 slices of black bread and a bottle of milk and said casually, "The hired job is over, here is your pay, you can head back first." She had memorized the route home so she did not need the girl to guide her. The girl then went clack clack and ran off without hesitation. After waiting a moment to confirm the girl was far away and that no one else was nearby, Tahan stored the 40 drums in her personal warehouse. Knowing the drums were bulky and space-hungry, she packed them all into a single slot. The news swept the shelter like a whirlwind. In a single night, everyone in the outer ring heard it. Many people grew eager and prepared to hunt zombies. They thought that if others could get crystals, then they surely could too, and hard work would not be treated unfairly. Just then new word arrived. Last night a lucky man entered the inner ring, used connections to land a decent job, and earned enough to scrape by. As expected, he could now live comfortably there. As the news spread, the outer ring boiled with excitement. Safe living, steady work, and generous pay, that is all ordinary people seek in the apocalypse. If luck smiles and a crystal is found, a life reverses at once. Unable to wait, they rushed to get rich and moved at once. Some formed teams and others went solo, actively tracking zombies. Hard living conditions drove some to dig pits, whittle wooden arrows, and carve wooden spears. Those with a little wealth went to the trading hall to buy bullets, then hired cars and hurried out. Thus a large-scale zombie hunt began. Idiot, over here, Duong Vin Kang pulled a small stone from his pocket and sternly threw it at a zombie. Roar, the zombie was angered and hurried toward him. Finally it follows, his eyes flashed with excitement. He had already laid traps and only waited for the zombie to step in. At first he was very wary. But after luring and killing 2 zombies, he found that, with numbers controlled, a single zombie was not that scary. The head is the only weak point and other hits are useless, yet zombies move slowly and have very low wit, so they are easy to funnel into traps. Once the target is confined, there are many ways to strike. He shouted while luring. Soon the zombie tumbled into the pit. He chuckled, drew his wooden spear, and stabbed its head. After several thrusts the zombie turned to white light. He bent to inspect, then muttered in disappointment, still nothing. Though weary, he was not angry. He had been told the crystal drop rate was low. If he kept hunting, he would find one someday. Dreaming of finding a crystal, reversing his fate, and climbing to the top, he grinned foolishly and basked in the pleasant fantasy. Suddenly a zombie lunged from behind. He froze and tried to resist, but it was too late. The zombie bit his neck. In an instant the wound tore open and blood gushed like a spring. Gritting his teeth, he drove the spear through its head and smashed its neck. Soon the zombie turned to white light. He collapsed on the ground, barely breathing, with one thought left: he was finished. Shortly after noon a white-coated figure appeared in the outer ring and asked coolly, "The antidote is ready, is anyone willing to try it?" The question sounded 3 times and no one answered. It was not for lack of people, the onlookers were many, but they preferred to stay aloof. No one wanted to taste a remedy rumored to come from matter dug out of a zombie's head. Who knew if it healed or spread germs? Unless its effect was seen firsthand, people would remain uneasy. Then a stretcher was brought, carrying a patient to the white coat. The patient was Duong Vin Kang. The white coat nodded, "It is him," propped him up, and spooned the antidote in. As it entered his mouth, his face quickly turned rosy. The bluish lips faded and the wound crusted fast. Soon his breathing steadied and he lay on the stretcher as if asleep. After a careful check, the whitecoat declared solemnly, "He is fine, rest a while and he will recover." Gasps burst out. The crowd stared wide-eyed in disbelief. Yet the whitecoat was not done and lobbed another bombshell: "The first 3 residents who bring in crystals will each receive 1 bottle of antidote. 2 slots remain, do your best." An antidote that cures a virus is worth more than 50 kilograms of rice. In the trading hall it could fetch much supply. Even so, its value was beyond doubt. Only 2 slots left, someone muttered and hurried away. They seemed intent on racing time to hunt zombies and grab a slot. Seeing this, Tahan sighed softly. No matter how they tried, they would not get crystals. They would pour in effort and beg for luck only to end in vain. "How are things going?" At some point Chung Du stood beside her. "Found several drums of mazut, burning the shelter is doable if needed, she replied in a low voice. Not bad, he praised. And you, any progress? She asked. The headcount of that group is unknown for now. Word is they agreed to sell the antidote and trade with the Hall, but the timing is undecided. Their line is that Crystal Harvest controls antidote output and no one can force it, he said softly. Sounds like they plan to wipe out the zombies in trade after, she analyzed. Judging by their conduct so far, I rate the chance of a successful trade at 0. That way we can complete resupply smoothly without spending vitality potions. He nodded, right. NK books. After a moment she felt something off. She frowned at her teammate. Where did the intel come from? Is it reliable? Why did he tell you? She pressed. He smiled. I pretended to be a virus researcher and slipped him some medicine, then he spilled everything. He is not the discreet kind, so leaking secrets is no surprise. Though the fat man was loyal to the trading hall, he could not resist a bribe. Medicine is dearer than gold now. A small favor from Chengdu lets him indulge endlessly. You said you were a researcher and he believed you, she found the fat man naive. For a moment she was speechless and had nothing to refute. Gazing into the distance, Chengdu sighed. If they plan to sweep zombies before resupply, there is no rush, we have plenty of time. On the evening of the second day no one brought out crystals to shop. That night the second and third lucky ones both shone, each trading for 50 kilograms of rice plus antidote. At 9 in the morning on the fourth day the system's mechanical voice announced, Shelter I-22 has 972 players, 2,675 non-player characters, and 27,632 zombies. Both people and zombies were dropping fast. Culling zombies, probing for supplies, and trading at the shelter. With good luck you dig crystals and get rations. These are all set routes. A player who found the shelter on the third day could not see the plot and treated the scheme as part of the rules. Compared to running around for houses and odd trinkets, killing zombies seems simpler. It also eases late game pressure, and with a crystal we can haul a lot of food into storage. Someone failed to see through the lie and, following the false hint about crystals and zombie heads, drew a wrong conclusion. Bold ones kill zombies and eat meat, timid ones scavenge supplies and sip soup. The game offers two branches with high flexibility. We can explore while clearing roadside zombies so nothing is missed. A cautious faction sought balance between risk and gain. A lie once born blurs truth and falsehood. By now most players accepted the crystal premise and were plotting moves. Only a very few stayed silent with other plans. The spam line was removed. Note, the slang set route became popular in 2016 to mean a painstakingly crafted path to lure people, and sometimes a ruse or trap. Chapter 93, Shelter 7. The zombie scale has dropped by 38% from the start. Yet people are at their breaking point. After many days of hunting zombies with no crystal cores found, there is no income at home and stored food is gone. Facing hunger, they question aloud, does killing zombies really yield crystal cores? Is this a scam? How low is the chance, anyway? Each day we kill at least several thousand, even tens of thousands, so why has no one exchanged for 50 kilograms of rice? Supporters snap back, you fail to get a core and call others scammers, that is ignorance. At first the lucky ones traded publicly because they lacked experience. Later people learned and traded in secret. My neighbor hauled several rice sacks home in the dark last night, sneaking like a thief. Everyone could tell luck exploded for him. Instead of envying luck, learn diligence. The lucky group slays zombies for 14 hours a day and kills at least more than 10 daily. It looks like luck, but they deserve it. That toxic pep talk leaves the dissenters flustered. My neighbor, my teammate, my aunt, my uncle, it sounds like many have traded for 50 kilograms of rice and not trading is the minority. Why do some fail to find luck? Because they did not try hard enough. In other words, they tried, but not enough. Perhaps the day of getting a core will come. Tuhan watches coldly as people lie with wide eyes. My neighbor, my teammate, my aunt, my uncle, there are many examples, yet none are their own. No one is foolish enough to invite trouble by telling others they have lots of food. In truth, the hardest part of the scheme is staging the lucky winners. The White Coat Group aims to kill zombies and sell vitality medicine at high prices for supplies, not to donate a tiny stock freely. So far only one dose is confirmed consumed, an investment to let the crowd witness the antidote working. The second and third lucky ones are surely family, outwardly taking the antidote away while it stays in house hands. The first lucky one is an ally who deliberately relinquished the antidote to let a teammate inject publicly. The team is only a few people, they cannot both pose as scientists and field many unfamiliar faces as lucky winners. Hiring strangers is unrealistic because a leak would expose the plot and the con team would face a furious mob. Hence they choose another path, to steer public opinion. It is not that no one is lucky later, it is that the cautious ones trade quietly. Many civilians have exchanged for 50 kilograms of rice, but ordinary information is blocked. Failing to find cores means insufficient effort and cannot blame others. Thus the matter seems explained. Tuhan scans around, curious how many supporters are hired, how many see through the plot and choose to harmonize, how many are allies of the whitecoats guiding the tempo, and how many are simply blinded and implicated. Sadly, appearances reveal nothing. Just then fresh news arrives. The Inner Ring Trade Group heard that crystal cores can make an antidote and decided to help. They have sent 10 squads of under 10 people to sweep zombies and expect gains soon. In public eyes, the traitors must have researched and confirmed cores can make antidote, hence the hunt. Their own failure must be bad luck. With that, no one speaks further and they leave heads down. The crisis eases, yet the white-robed leader looks grim as if a storm is near. The trade group is strong, and if after 2 or 3 days they harvest nothing, they will notice something is wrong. What they will do then is uncertain. In the inner ring, a wooden hut holds shadowed figures arguing softly to avoid attention. The traitors sent people to sweep zombies. In less than 3 days they will surely find there is no such core. What is your plan then? The white-robed man Tan Mac frowns like the river character and feels anxious. Why the rush? A lazy male voice answers, everything is still in my hand. If you do not act, the situation will spin out of control. Tan Mac has shed his haughty mask and sounds worried. We still have 2 or 3 days, do we not? The lazy voice replies. NK Breathing deep, Tan Mac steadies himself and suggests, plans cannot keep up with change, abandon the original intent. Time is too tight to kill all zombies and to fleece the exchange hall. Given the present state, trade at once, then leave the shelter quickly and hide elsewhere to avoid the wave. That is the best plan. Thanks for the advice, but I know what to do, the lazy voice says. Tan Mac falls silent. Near the outer ring, Gwyn leans on a boulder, pain washing over her and cold sweat breaking out. Her face is pale, the arm wound smells rotten, a severe injury indeed. Sister, drink some water. A little girl brings a cracked clay flask. Sister was injured by a zombie, she must be a doomed person. The girl speaks hoarsely and very slowly as if each word costs effort. No, I will get better. The girl bursts into tears. Gwyn knows that lately many keen hunters were grazed and all ended up dead, she too will likely die sooner or later. Quiet and listen to me. She feigns fierceness. When you get food, stuff it into your belly quickly so it is not stolen. She swallows hard and continues, you must split up. Always put caution first, there are too many bad people outside. Please stop talking and rest a bit, the girl sobs to breathlessness. Be good and remember as much as you can. Even if you are alone, you must strive to live, do you understand? She clenches her teeth, rallies herself, and keeps teaching survival tricks. After a long while, Gwyn finishes what she must say and slumps against the rock, exhausted. Drink. The girl lifts the clay flask again, and this time Gwyn does not refuse. The girl jumps up, I will fetch more water, please wait for me. Then she hurries away. Gwyn feels her sight blur and her head hum, her reason about to slip from her body. When you meet someone bitten by a zombie, you must keep away, because you never know when they will turn into a senseless monster. After this long lecture, how much will she remember? Though she longs for her sister, Nguyen knows that if she does not leave she may lose reason the next second and harm her only kin. She struggles to her feet and staggers away from the shelter. In the wild, a squad of nearly 20 sweeps zombies. They wear black uniforms, fire continuously, throw grenades when needed, and coordinate smoothly. An old man in white protective gear watches with delight and mutters, "Oh, my first time hearing there are crystal cores in zombie heads. I truly want to see one. Mr. Xiang, please stand back for safety." Assistant Wang with black rimmed glasses urges, "You are a star of medicine and a treasure of the world, no mishap is allowed." "Just one glance, it will be fine," the old man ignores him. The assistant fails to persuade and yields, then the old man blurts, "Huh, what is that?" Assistant Wang looks where he points and sees someone lying not far away. "Guards, protect Mr. Xiang," he orders at once. The old man thinks the assistant is making a fuss, yet he knows the man cannot be lax because he would bear all blame. The guards close in around the old man. A member goes to check and soon reports, "It is a little girl about 7 or 8, her arm is wounded and smells rotten." All know that the bitten will turn into zombies even in death, and she is unconscious and a short step from dying. "So young, how pitiful," the old man sighs, then after a pause he waves, "Take her back, just in time for a research specimen." Chapter 94, Shelter 8. At 9 in the morning on Saturday, the mechanical system voice announced, "Shelter I-22 has 862 players, 1,526 non-player characters, and 3,785 zombies." Zombies were culled extremely fast. The skillful hunters grew more adept at shooting, yet accidents kept happening. A zombie often leaped from a room corner, it hugged someone and bit, so casualties were not small. 50,000 zombies, and only 10 crystals dropping. Huh, every day you say someone hits the jackpot, why do I only see people starving? 50,000 zombies reduced to over 3,000, at least in the endgame we need not fear zombies surrounding the city, that is very good. As for when we can get crystal cores, I can only say it depends on fate. Facing the doubts, Tan Mac stayed calm. "Sorry, to protect client safety, I cannot reveal the lucky person's identity." In truth, he was cursing inside. The schemer in the team muttered all day, "Got it, I am confident," yet he never spoke clearly. Tan Mac grumbled inwardly, "Heaven knows what that man is plotting, if he refuses to explain, everyone will eventually part ways." Moreover, Tan Mac's eyes darkened, they were never long-term partners. They met in the small virus instance, learned each other's secrets, then happened to enter the same instance again, thus forming a temporary party. Tan Mac had seen high-intelligence schemers. In the virus town, from the start he insisted that all players escort the virus mother's body to the hospital for quarantine, but no one listened. A run that could have been easy finally turned into hell difficulty. Players barely held on until day 11, on day 12 they exited one after another. This time, after entering the instance, they met again by chance. Someone suggested they join forces and let the schemer control the tempo. Others found no problem and nodded agreement. The plot advanced smoothly, and the temporary teammates again felt obeying the schemer was a brilliant idea. Everything would go as planned, zombies cleared, the system declared pass, then they skimmed profit off the trading hall and left at ease. Yet unexpectedly the trading hall had already sent people to help purge zombies. That sudden move wrecked the plan. At the critical moment that Guy played dead, he posed as calculating yet refused to reveal the method. When failure struck, the temporary team became unreliable. Not to mention others, at least Tan Mac was planning a retreat. His thoughts drifted until someone walked up, and only then did Tan Mac return to himself. "The boss wants to see you, please come with us." The leader spoke slowly. Tan Mac glanced around and felt a chill in his gut. There were 10 people, all in neat black uniforms, they looked orderly. As he knew, only the trading group's guards and the shelter wore that uniform. Outsiders did not understand, they were still guessing happily, does the trading boss want the antidote, so they specially came to find someone. Ace, why did I not take the medical university exam back then? With an indifferent face, Tan Mac replied coolly, "Fine, I will go with you." He smiled bitterly inside. The other side acted faster than expected. Escape would not be easy. The only plan was to name the mastermind behind the curtain to protect himself. He lowered his gaze, hiding the calculations in his eyes. Hearing that the white coat had been taken by the traitor's guards, Tahan rested her chin and fell into thought. 2 days earlier, when the traitors suddenly declared they would also seek crystals, Tahan had sensed misfortune coming. After all, the world is wide. Once you get supplies you can go anywhere. Therefore Tahan even hired watchers, waiting for the white coat group to leave the shelter to give them a surprise. Unexpectedly they did not leave, they calmly waited inside, as if waiting to be caught. Tahan waited more than once, a mind that fooled thousands into running in circles. Could not suddenly act dumb at the key moment. Yet facts showed they were frank and honest here, daring to plot and daring to bear consequences. "Hey, what are you spacing out about?" Chengdu asked casually. Tahan said solemnly, "I am pondering how likely it is for a gamer to suddenly transgress worlds." Chengdu fell silent. He realized the teammates' thinking had gone off track. What if being caught by the traitors was intentional? Try changing perspective. Chengdu reminded. Tahan kept a straight face. "Forgive my shallow knowledge, I have never seen a scheme that is that upright. Not only upright but headstrong like iron." Knowing the traitors would soon notice problems, they still stayed put to wait for death. Being caught does not mean certain death. Chengdu said meaningfully. In this world nothing is absolute. Tahan said coolly, "If people had known there were no crystals and zombie heads, non-player characters would never have hunted on their own. Being deceived is the truth. The swindler stands before them and just happens to have the power to be punished. Why would the characters let them go? Because of vitality potions. As far as I know, the traitors secretly have their own medical team, and recently they have made progressive breakthroughs on the unknown virus. Rumor says they already have semi-finished product. Producing a finished cure is only a matter of sooner or later. Then why need anyone else? Only great benefits can make people willingly release hatred." Chengdu looked straight at the teammate and enunciated, "If they openly claim the vitality potion can cure 100 diseases, what would the characters do?" At once, Tahan's expression froze. Meanwhile, Tan Mak was brought before the trading boss. "My surname is Hong, just call me Boss Hong." The middle-aged man sat on a leather chair, relaxing against the back. He spoke slowly, "Can you tell me what the actual crystal yield rate is?" Convinced that crystals truly existed in zombie heads, or else that truth never existed, Tan Mak wrestled fiercely in his mind. Boss Hong smiled and asked coolly, "If 2 more days pass with nothing found, have you considered your outcome?" Cold sweat broke on Tan Mak. He had drawn the eye of the shelter's greatest power, which sounded like a death march. Only then did he awaken. Why did others either play the lucky one or hide in the crowd to steer the tempo, while only he stood in a white coat before the masses? That pushed him toward death. If the scheme was exposed, he would be the first target, the others would be safe. The more he thought, the less resigned he felt. Since all had plotted together, why should he bear the blame alone? So he decided quickly and admitted, "Crystals do not exist at all, from start to finish everything was a lie." Boss Hong had long suspected, so he was not surprised. If the act were only to auction the antidote at a high price, he could understand. Yet from the situation, staging a play to coax others into fighting zombies was very strange. Tan Mak began to fabricate. In his story, a youth named Chao Sam accidentally found a batch of antidotes that could treat the unknown virus. When he planned to sell them for a high price to secure supplies for half a lifetime, he discovered his only kin had been killed by zombies. From then on the youth hated zombies. He set a scheme to wipe them out. Others had either been helped before or received promises, after success they would get a bottle of antidote as reward, so they gave their all. The Chao Sam mentioned was the schemer's true name. Unwittingly, Tan Mak shifted all responsibility onto Chao Sam. Chao Sam. Boss Hong murmured, "The name sounds familiar." Tan Mak did not hide it and said directly, "He is the first lucky one. He entered the inner circle carrying 50 kilograms of rice, and now he works for the traders." So it is him. Boss Hong ordered, "Bring him here." Yes. The underling took the order and left. How many people helped in total? Boss Hong asked again. In order. They are. He hid nothing and told all he knew, his attitude very cooperative. Boss Hong turned and ordered in a deep voice, "Did you hear? Clean those people up." Yes. Several more answered and left. Tan Mak kept a straight face, telling himself he had no choice. Since it is so, better a poor priest dies than a fellow priest, he thought coldly. After all, they were only a temporary team, with no affection or obligation. Soon Chow Sam was brought in. Boss Hong asked leisurely, "I heard you set this up on purpose, you tricked civilians and zombies into fighting so you could avenge yourself, is that true?" Tan Mak felt pleased, thinking you finally have this day. He looked up and saw Chow Sam smiling carelessly. Whatever, the whole story no longer matters. Chow Sam sat down as if familiar before Boss Hong, a confident smile on his face, his voice lazy, a panacea that cures 100 illnesses. Do you want to hear about it? Chapter 95, Shelter 9. A chill seeped through Tan Mak's heart. He had thought Chow Sam's rebuttal was solid enough to wash him clean. Yet in this situation Boss Hong had made up his mind already. Whatever Chow Sam said would carry less weight. He sidestepped the crime and posed as if to say, "I am very useful, feel free to use me." Tan Mak twitched his lips yet found nothing to say. Chow Sam was a doctor, the vigor potions came from him, all stockpiles sat in his hands, these were facts. Books. Boss Huang's interest was piqued, true or false, a panacea that cures all? Chow Sam smiled, "In truth I do not have the antidote in hand." Then he enunciated, "Only I know where the rest of the antidote is hidden." Boss Hong felt a pressure in his chest almost choking him. He tore off his tie and said coldly, "A cure for all diseases, why should I trust a con man? What if it was true?" Chow Sam remained unfazed. "I can provide one free vial for tests. If your medical staff can analyze it and perfectly reproduce it, I will be delighted." Suddenly Tan Mak felt a chill at his nape. The next second Chow Sam glanced at him and said coolly, "To show sincerity, help me deal with that man first, I never liked traitors." Hong. Tan Mak had barely spoken when Boss Hong waved his hand. Guards raised their guns and surrounded him. Damn it! Tan Mak cursed under his breath. His explosives and grenades were spent in the last instance, the shop this round was closed, he had rushed his setup and never traded, so he could only fight back clumsily with a gun. Worse still, his bullets were few. If we eliminate him, does that prove my sincerity? Boss Hong sipped tea. Of course. Chow Sam answered without a pause. He paused briefly then added, "There are a few others too, better to handle them together." If you mean those begging you for potions, they should be handled now. Boss Hong smacked his lips thanks to a certain informer. Excellent. Chow Sam's smile blazed while his heart confirmed that temporary teammates were not to be trusted. In the virus instance before his call to use the hospital isolation ward was seen as sinister and players fled, those people still existed now. So even after they formed a temporary squad this round he never dropped his guard, they wanted his brains and were never trustworthy. At the first accident one would run faster than the next. Chow Sam thought that in this game there were no teammates, only mutual exploitation. As long as you held value you were treated gently. But now... He curled his lips and murmured, "I schemed so hard to steer the board only for fools to ruin it and leave me no revenge. How could I make such stupidity twice?" As he finished, bullets struck Tan Mak's shoulder, brow and temple and he dissolved into white light. Chow Sam smiled, "The obstacle is cleared, now we can continue our chat." Assistant Wang reported after using the semi-finished product. Subject 1 improved a little, Subject 2 showed no response, Subjects 3 and 4 worsened, Subject 9 recovered well and could regain consciousness anytime. Dr. Tong froze and almost dropped the tube. Thinking he misheard, he confirmed, "Subject 9 is that girl we picked up by the road?" That girl. Assistant Wang nodded with a strange face. "It is odd, all subjects ate the same drug, only she reacted and improved." Could she have developed viral antibodies? With that thought, Dr. Tong rushed to draw blood for tests. He had barely begun when someone cut in. Dr. Tong, the boss, just received a dose of antidote. Please hand off your work and study its effects. The visitor's tone was gentle, yet the attitude was forceful. Sorry to disturb your work, but to the boss this antidote matters more. Dr. Tong fell silent. The boss fed and housed him. Refusing seemed impossible. At 9 in the morning of the 8th day, the system's mechanical voice announced, Shelter I-22. The player's server hosts 793 players, 1,134 non-player residents and 648 zombies. Each day the untreated died, others ran out of food and ammo and starved. Robbery and looting sparked constant clashes. The civilian death toll climbed. Tahan sat blankly in a canvas tent and wondered when this instance would end. Watching lively lives vanish daily was no pleasant experience. Thankfully, there were only 648 zombies. If all were destroyed, the instance would end. Could you be a bit more upbeat? Chengdui shot his small teammate a look. Even if white coats got us inside the inner ring, there is still a chance if we care to try. I do not want to stir trouble. Tahan sighed. The white coats may be sheltered by the trade crew now. Crossing them makes us the crew's enemy, whichever way we think it is troublesome. She felt there were already enough troublemakers this round without her. Someone has taken the lead, Chengdui said suddenly. Tahan slanted a glance. What? He said calmly, the zombies are mostly cleared and some people are eager to act. White coats hold vigor potions and the trade crew's warehouses brim with supplies. Who would not be tempted? Worse, the white coats lied and coaxed civilians to die. The crew knows their crimes yet shields them. So many flaws will spark public anger. Tahan traced the line, and what did the few insiders do? Early on they helped cover things so the plot advanced. Now that the zombie count is manageable, they betray. What a clever abacus. She shook her head and sighed. Why not wait until the 10th day when we can exit anytime and act then? She found it strange. Without enough civilians to fight, things would be far messier. So by that logic they had to ignite trouble earlier. It is the phase of rousing opinion and fanning fury. Want to watch together? Chengdui invited. If we blend into the inner ring, we might latch onto a group and maybe meet the white coats. He did not know that aside from Chao Sam, the scam team had been knocked out. Tahan stayed quiet. She disliked using people for gain, yet other capable players here did not care. They treated other players and civilians as pieces on a board. It felt like only people holding a last moral line like her and Chengdui were outsiders. Lucky I picked you as teammate, she murmured. If his nature matched theirs, the two would have turned on each other already. Those softer words were heard. Chengdui's lips curved and his tone grew solemn. I will not do what you hate. Good then. Tahan straightened and put on her cool mask again. Let us go join the commotion. He tugged her back seriously. If you do not want to go, do not force yourself. Their stores were ample and they lacked nothing. I am not forcing it, she said lightly. Think about it, neither side is decent. So whatever, we stir things when it suits us and take advantage. Chengdui was relieved and answered, let us go. 7 days passed and the once bustling outer ring turned desolate. Many tents and shacks stood empty. After assessing, Tahan found maybe around 300 people remained outside, less than a tenth of before. Should she blame human greed or the impatience born of scarcity, or both? She did not know. She only saw desolation everywhere and people in misery. In the distance a man stood on a rock and declaimed. He said crystals can be traded for rice. He said many lucky ones traded, but where are the witnesses? Who dares say they found crystals after hunting zombies? Heads shook all around. But why lie? Someone asked. We have no grudges, why deceive? Before the speaker replied, another voice cut in with a cold laugh. If every zombie is cleared, the inner ring's young masters and ladies will be safe. Right, the inner ring lives easy while the outer ring suffers bitterly just for a meal. I only want a full meal. Whom did I offend? Yet they tricked me into killing zombies. I already thought it strange. No matter how many I killed, I never saw crystals, so it was a lie. They knew clearing zombies was deadly and would not send their own, so they duped the poor. How could they? Then someone spoke. Slowly, from what I know, the white coat who knows the antidote entered the inner ring and never came out. I guess when done they will retreat and be hidden by the trade boss. The crowd gasped, that nearly accused the boss outright. Before pushback, another man stepped up. Though the white coats lied about crystals, many saw wounded civilians recover quickly after drinking their antidote. Think hard, besides the trade crew's funded lab, who else has spare strength for research in times like these? The white coats belonged to the crew, that much is sure. He paused, scanned the crowd, and his voice rang, the trade crew leaves us no way to live. If we do not unite and resist, we will surely die. In an instant, public emotion flared. Civilians shouted at the crew and spilled every grievance. Tahan stayed cool while shadowy instigators traded knowing looks and lines to whip the crowd. Tsk tisk, they splash every filthy bucket on the crew. Chung Dui murmured, some claims are blatant fabrications. Anger many enough and you get this scene. They think they judge by reason, yet their every move is controlled. Before this, the white coats seduced them into sweeping zombies. They are puppets on strings without knowing. It is sad and pitiful. Still, they wore faces of righteous fury as if anger ruled them. The crowd swelled with players and civilians all yelling to confront the crew for justice. Those with agendas exchanged glances that said it was done. Chapter 96, Shelter 10. The sentry at the gate fired into the sky, hoping to scare off the outer crowd. Yet even with gunfire, too many people had gathered, around 500 to 600 souls of players and civilians, eyes bloodshot and breathing hard, already past control. Sensing things would snap, the guards pulled back according to the fallback plan. Charge, follow me. Roused by a schemer, the crowd surged toward the trading room. At the same time, Tuhan halted and lowered her voice, if you aim to make real money, you must scout beforehand. A few slipped quietly out of line just now, tell them to find the depot. The pair moved in sync and shadowed them. About 10 minutes later, those men reached a timber cabin with grins on their faces. One drew a pistol with a suppressor and shot the door latch. The door sprang open fast. The trio rushed inside. When the last tried to close it, the door jammed. Tuhan drove a hard kick, blasted through, and strode in. With a swift scan, she saw many wooden chests crammed with supplies, some left open on the floor. She could not help but sigh, so the stockpile is hidden in a commoner's cabin, I must hand it to you for finding it. In the next beat, the trio raised their guns in unison, ready to fire. Tuhan stayed calm. 3 in front were nothing, she alone could finish the lot. Moreover, do you really want to shoot? I do not wish to waste bullets on you. If a stray hits a timed charge in here, it gets troublesome. Zhongdu hefted a rocket tube before everyone, his words edged with threat. The trio fell silent. If they fired and the other side launched a rocket, what game would be left to play? Tuhan said, time is tight, no room for brawling, let us make peace and shake hands, supplies here are abundant, we may gather together and still not exhaust them. The three traded looks. The leader promptly lowered his gun and said evenly, strength is the entry ticket. Since you have enough strength, I do not mind letting you share a bowl of soup. With peace agreed, all were pleased. The 5 quickly stood down, flipped the veils off the chests, and frantically moved goods into their personal stores. Their situations showed clear contrast. The trio focused on food and daily goods, plainly short on essentials. Zhongdu hugged bars of soap single-mindedly, clearly lacking household items. As for Tuhan, her trade skills could provide food and daily goods, fully self-sufficient, so she grabbed ammo, meds, time charges, and grenades. Tuhan was reaching for more meds when someone beside her growled in disbelief, how can a trading hall this large be this poor? The clever hare has 3 burrows, there must be several depots. Zhongdu guessed idly while his hands never paused. Hearing them call the place poor amid mountains of goods, the 3 could only twitch their lips. One muttered that because there was too much stuff they had picked a remote spot and stocked many essentials, who knew 2 jinxes would latch on and snatch their food. Outside, gunshots kept cracking, drawing nearer. All understood the security squad would arrive soon. Tu-Han checked her storage, found it nearly full again, and stopped. Just then she spotted 5 car keys on the wooden table. She recalled the parking row outside the door had off-road vehicles, exactly 5 of them. With that thought she swept all 5 keys and left the room. Another minute passed and a murmur rose, "Follow me, there seems to be someone here." At the same time a woman outside urged, "Come out, time to run." Jean-Du turned on his heel and left without hesitation. The trio ignored it and meant to grab a bit more. Outside, Tu-Han was already in the driver's seat of a military green off-roader. Everything was set, only waiting for her teammate to board. The moment Jean-Du buckled in, she floored it. The trio stepped out and got a faceful of exhaust. They froze. Could the off-roader still have fuel? A check showed every tank was bone dry. Damn it, she has diesel in her personal stash. One finally realized. But they had wasted too much time. A 10-strong security squad rushed up and opened fire without a word. The trio dodged in a mess and shot back. A full-on skirmish unfolded. Elsewhere, Tu-Han drove fast, her foot brutal on the throttle. Jean-Du decided quickly, "Leave the shelter, this place will descend into chaos." "I know, that is why I stole a car, I plan to drift outside for about 10 days. Tu-Han replied while wrenching the wheel. "We slipped." Jean-Du looked vexed. "There are 793 players and 1,134 civilians left. One side has strong force, the other has nearly half non-combatants. Worse still, the weaker side holds far more supplies, the larger side is hungry and ragged but good at fighting." Thinking now, the Day 8 push to incite the outer ring was likely the troublemakers fearing others would cut ahead and leave them no soup. And if their mustered numbers lead the first assault, at least they can reap a haul. Not only that. Tu-Han warned coldly. If the zombies are cornered and players cannot locate them, if you cannot cleanse them all, you must survive a full 20 days in the instance to clear it. Without enough stores, clearing is impossible. Thus the traders turn into a tasty pie, everyone wants a bite. To hold Jade is to court guilt. With ordinary strength yet huge stock, when the outside threat of zombies weakens, players have no reason not to act. Jean-Du analyzed coolly. Along the road players and civilians were fighting. A glimpse of the military green car threading the melee stunned many. Once they reacted, a player aimed at the tire and pulled the trigger. He thought the world was fighting while you alone stole an off-roader to flee. Dream on. Seeing the gunman, Tu-Han yanked the wheel hard and dodged by a hair. At the edge, the outer ring was battling the security squad. One glance told they were players. Players lay traps far more than civilians, block them. Jean-Du sighed, produced the rocket tube, shouldered it, and fired without a blink. A thunderous blast gouged a crater, the shockwave knocked many down. "Go now." Jean-Du called to his teammate while he reloaded, aimed, and fired. Another boom, the round punched the fuel tank, and the car erupted at once. Tu-Han sped away. This time no one dared to bar the road. Flames raged on all sides and bodies littered the ground until the sky turned black and calm crept back. With no choice, Boss Hong led his men and Chow Sam to hide in an underground research institute to ride out the storm. Mr. Tuong worked with care and knew nothing of the upheaval above. "Well, any results?" Boss Hong drew a deep breath and held his composure. He told himself guarding Chow Sam was the right call. Though his holdings had taken a sudden wound, once the panacea was made he would reclaim all that was his. Dark rings under Mr. Tuong's eyes showed his poor rest. He heard and shook his head with regret. "The antidote you brought is very strange. Almost like..." He hesitated. "Go on." Boss Huang's face turned stony. His expression grew uglier. After a thought he asked again, "Can you replicate the antidote?" Mr. Tuong shook his head and looked dejected. "Forgive my powerlessness." With a crack, Boss Hong crushed a long-stemmed goblet in place. In the lounge, Chow Sam sprawled contentedly on the sofa. Though the situation had soured again, his bet still stood. Facts proved Boss Hong had left a retreat. The underground institute was quite safe, he could likely wait here until the full 20 days ended. Accordingly, he only needed to offer a bottle of Vigor Tonic every few days to trade for supplies with Boss Hong. Suddenly the door burst open. Chow Sam frowned, rolled up, and asked coldly, "What is it?" Boss Hong strode in wreathed in menace and waved, "Search." The guards began to ransack. Chow Sam stayed frosty and said, "If you want the panacea, spare the effort, I have hidden the antidote." No comment. Chow Sam answered coolly. A moment later a guard reporting, "Nothing found." Boss Hong felt no worry about offending him, for Tan Mak had said clearly that the man only got lucky and picked up a stash of antidotes. If he had made it himself, respect would follow. Since it was only picked up, none was needed. "I told you, nothing to find." Chow Sam curled a smile, "Better spend this time preparing more supplies." "When do we trade and at what price?" Boss Hong pressed. Chow Sam answered at once, "In 6 days." He then rattled off a long list of items and named a vicious price. He had counted it out, today was day 8 of the game, a trade every 6 days meant spending only 2 doses of Vigor Tonic to clear safely. Since the tonic was so useful, he would keep a few for himself. Besides, stock on hand was not large and must be sold in drips. Boss Huang's eyes flashed and he countered, "Start today and make it every 3 days." Chow Sam frowned and stated firmly, "Trading today is fine, but not every 3 days. Every 6 days, that is my line." "Fine, how do we trade?" Boss Hong softened and made a timely concession. Chow Sam thought for a while and said, "Let me go up top, leave me alone in the northwest cabin, everyone else stands guard outside. In half an hour I will bring back the panacea." "Good." Boss Hong smiled and signaled his men. In the next second all the guards raised guns and opened fire together. The ambush was sudden and Chow Sam had no defense, he took bullets at once. "You." He tried to speak but Boss Hong cut him off coldly. The man sneered, "If we know it is hidden in the cabin then we do not need you. You have no more value, go die." Chow Sam fell silent. At once a storm of rounds swept toward him. He dodged in panic yet could not evade them all. Boss Hong froze. His face turned terribly dark and his mood sank like a stone. Books. The underlings bowed their heads, not daring to meet his gaze, afraid to brush his prickly nerves. Who knows if Chow Sam saw death coming and lied on purpose? Anyway. He swallowed his anger and feigned calm. "You, go topside and search the northwest cabin from top to bottom." "Yes." The underlings took the order and left. The author spoke their mind. With a proud face Tan Mak said, "For -5 equals rise, I trapped you to death." Chapter 97, Shelter 11. The number of players and NPCs dropped sharply, the battlefield must have been extremely tragic. However, many people never intended to do evil, they quietly waited outside the shelter. Every morning they went out to gather supplies, returned to their tents at night, and lived simple, regular lives. Meanwhile, Tahan drove her off-road vehicle, eating bread with butter and pork floss as if she were on a trip. When she met zombies, she killed them casually, when she didn't, she wandered around, sometimes resting. Players could now freely leave the instance, and the number dropped again. Each day passed, Tahan and Chengdu wandered the wilderness. Their lives were temporary but peaceful. With no one around, they didn't care about others' opinions. Sometimes they cooked instant noodles with smoked meat. The transparent interface displayed, name, Tahan, real name verified. Level, 7, EXP 0 of 30. Profession 1, nutritionist, all advanced talents, no further upgrades. Profession 2, soap maker, advanced talents, 15 of 30 EXP. Fullness, 840. Cleanliness, 840. Stamina, 840. Leveling up didn't move her heart. On the morning of the 16th day, the system announced zombies have been summoned by mysterious power and are moving toward the shelter. After 2 hours, they will surround it. Tohan frowned. Just my luck. She thought if there were tens of thousands of zombies, the sight would be grand. But a few hundred meant suicide. Chung Du sighed. I hope the zombies are cleared, but wiping them all out? Impossible. He said some people dug pits to trap zombies that couldn't climb out, or lured them into rooms and locked the doors. Thus, eliminating them all was difficult. The challenge wasn't fighting but finding every one. Missing even one meant failure. Passing is enough. Tohan said casually. At 9 a.m. on the 20th day, the system announced, Shelter I-22 has 163 players, 212 NPCs, and 143 zombies. In the end, the zombies were not completely wiped out. You have received extra rewards. All remaining players will be teleported out. A white light flashed, and Tohan left the instance. She chose as usual, plus 5 EXP, plus 20 to fullness, cleanliness, and stamina caps. After selection, her status showed, level 7, 10 of 30 EXP. Profession 1, Nutritionist, maxed. Profession 2, Soapmaker, 25 of 30 EXP. Fullness, cleanliness, and stamina, 860 each. When the game pod opened, she lay still, unwilling to move, wanting deep sleep. This round had drained her mentally. Even exhausted, she reviewed her competitors' info. 504 players cleared, survived 20 days. 106,000 players, seems the match isn't over by round 10. She requested 2 days off from work. Calmed, she scrolled posts, finally guessed the instance right. Felt like hitting the jackpot. Zombie siege? So cliché. Hope for more variety next time. Survived day 20 thanks to easy zombies, not luck. Supplies were tough to find. Since the siege began on day 16, lasting till the end was hard. So gathering supplies and killing zombies had to go hand in hand. Some players said traders and medical teams could make antidotes. A 7-year-old girl, an 80-year-old man, a middle-aged man over 40, all developed antibodies after infection. If key NPCs died, no cure would ever exist. Tohan rested her chin, thinking. Such a simple game, yet players turned it chaotic, how strange. The post author continued, lost for 2 days before reaching the shelter, then learned zombies had no crystals, it was a trap. He fought guards, looted warehouses, then players began backstabbing. On day 13, traders claimed to make an antidote, available only to loyal players. He switched sides, helping them. When he left the pod, he realized he'd been led by the nose. Comments, zombies with crystals? Ridiculous. I'd have believed it too many shows say that. Poor guy. Glad I didn't meet them, I'd be dead. Players scarier than the game. Over 1,000 left, everyone went wild. Respect to the pro who led his team to survive, my server had only 100. Kneeling to the legend. If not for witnesses, I doubt this. By comment 10, I'm convinced. After browsing, Tohan shut her laptop and slept. Time passed quickly, soon came the 10th round. Logging in, the system greeted, welcome to Infinite Survival Game. You have 175 points. This is the 10th instance. The store operates normally for the last time. She chose yes, spent all points on medicine, and packed them. When asked if ready, she confirmed. White light flashed. This instance's setting, nuclear radiation survival. When stamina reaches 0, the player dies. The longer you live, the richer the reward. Survive 15 days for bonus. Town J33 has 1,000 players and 4,000 NPCs. Half a year ago, the town suffered nuclear leakage, survivors live under radiation threat. The game begins now. Nuclear radiation? Tohan's face stiffened. This plot's getting ridiculous. NK Books. Not a scientist, she barely remembered radiation knowledge. Different types harm differently, some damage skin, others organs, some both. Any exposure is dangerous. The longer it lasts, the worse it gets. I wonder if the game follows science at all, she muttered. Chapter 98, Nuclear Radiation, Part 1. Unsure if it was an illusion, Tahan heard the system explain the game rules, bowed her head to ponder for about 5 minutes, and then her skin stung as if scorched. She glanced outside and realized the sunlight itself was not scorching. Is this a radiation attack? Though the cause was unclear, Tahan keenly sensed she was in danger. The clearest sign was that her stamina value was slowly ticking down. She did not dare stop, hurriedly took her backpack, stuffed in bread and milk, and walked fast along the street, knocking on every door. Unfortunately, no one opened. Tahan did not linger. If one house failed, she moved to another. About 10 minutes later, when her stamina had dropped by 10 points, someone finally cracked open a door. An old lady appeared, opening only a slit, a damp cloth over her mouth and nose, frowning as she asked, "What is it?" "I want to rent a room, the price is negotiable." Tahan stated her intent at once, afraid a detour would get the door slammed. The old lady replied curtly, "I am not short of money." She then tried to shut the door. No shops were open along the street, which showed how bad the instance had become. Though the woman's tone was harsh, in a time when no one wished to open their doors, her small gesture was rare kindness. So Tahan would not let the chance slip. The woman paused and asked, "Do you have clean drinks?" It was clearly about airtight safety. Her throat moved slightly as she said in an unquestionable tone, 2 bottles of milk per day is rent, fail to pay and you leave at once." "No problem." Tahan agreed at once. Only then did the woman let her in. As soon as Tahan stepped inside, the door shut decisively. Tahan wanted to ask about the situation, but the woman pointed toward the living room and barked, "You stay here, do not come out without a reason." Then she ignored the new tenant. Tahan exhaled, as long as the landlady was pleased. She entered the living room, closed the door, and carefully took in the surroundings. The room was fairly spacious, about 15 square meters. Yet the discomfort had eased noticeably. The most direct sign was the stamina loss slowing from 1 point per minute to 1 point per 10 minutes. Tahan did the math at once. 1 point per 10 minutes meant 6 points per hour, which meant 144 points per 24 hours. When she finished the calculation, her eyelid twitched. From start to finish she had cleared every run, and with extra rewards she had a total of 860 stamina, which meant at best 6 days. Worse, she was hiding indoors now, and on the open street the drop would be faster. Tahan woke up to the truth that the final race for supplies had arrived. At 9 in the morning the precise mechanical voice sounded, "Day 1 of the game." At once a piece of black bread, a bottle of cream milk, and 2 handmade soap bars appeared before her. A casual glance froze her in place. The black bread was tagged slightly contaminated, after use, fullness +15, but it contained radioactive material that would harm the body. Tahan tossed the supplies into her inventory and frowned in thought. She was certain the bread had been normal before, with no slightly contaminated prefix. Why was it so now? She had put bread and milk into her pack and never took them out, so why were they contaminated, while the bottle of milk still showed the old status? Wait. She recalled how uneasy her body felt while standing in the street, the landlady's habit of covering her mouth and nose, and the tightly shut windows, and finally understood there was radioactive material in the air. In other words, mere breathing was enough for a human body to absorb radioactive matter. "This is big trouble," she murmured. Contaminated food could not be eaten, so Tahan calmly stuffed everything back into her backpack. Luckily she had only left 3 loaves out, so the loss was small. For 3 straight days Tahan stayed put in the living room and did not go out. The landlady gradually found the new tenant had merits. At least she paid rent without haggling, which pleased her. Thus the woman hinted and, in passing, shared useful tidings. Radiation comes in 2 kinds, external exposure and internal exposure. External exposure means ionizing radiation acting on the body surface. Internal exposure means radioactive elements enter the body and affect the organs directly. Protection methods include avoiding inhaling polluted air, avoiding contaminated foods, avoiding direct contact with tainted objects, avoiding polluted wounds, and using shielding when possible to cut external exposure. If you can, get a protective suit. Escape radiation completely, impossible. The air has radioactive elements, the drinks have them too, they are everywhere and slip through every gap. I have heard that some people, short on food, resort to eating slightly contaminated fare. Tohan did not grasp nuclear physics, but she knew she did not need the whys, only the conclusions and the countermeasures. Putting it all together, she vaguely realized that radiation could not be fully avoided. What a player could do was minimize the intake as much as possible. On day 4 of the game, Tohan paid the rent and deliberately said, "I am running low on supplies." In truth, her inventory was crammed full, even growing daily, with leftovers after each meal. She said it because she wanted to move. In the landlady's eyes, a backpacker who never went out but never ran out of food looked suspicious. Hearing the tenant plan to leave, the older woman fell silent for a moment, then asked softly, "You are not from here, why did you come?" Tohan almost said budget traveling, but the words died, for who would visit a radiation-struck town for fun? The landlady understood. After the nuclear leak there were few people left. Regaining calm, she said, "Rest first, at noon come out with me." Slightly puzzled, Tohan obeyed, "Okay." After a few peaceful days together, she did not mind the trip, hoping for an unexpected gain, and the grenades in her inventory bolstered her courage. With spirits high, she felt no fear. Before noon, Tohan ate early and then took medicine. Staying in was fine, but going out meant she had to restore stamina. With drugs she pushed it up to 654, with the status showing 76%, and finally stopped. Right then the landlady called, "Time to go." Tohan grabbed her pack and left the room. She had thought they would go above ground, so she had prepared masks to reduce breathing. Unexpectedly the landlady led her to the master bedroom and opened a floor panel. A moment later a pitch-black staircase appeared, bottomless at a glance. Tohan stared, "Is this a joke? Follow me." The landlady raised a flashlight and took the lead. Tohan kept close. The staircase was long, full of junctions and sharp turns. After about 5 minutes her feet met the ground. Before her lay an underground square, shops on all sides open and bustling. The landlady warned, "We separate to look around, meet back here in 2 hours. If I do not see you then, I wait at most 5 minutes, after that I leave." "Got it," Tohan answered, while noting that since coming underground her stamina drop had clearly slowed, and she needed a way to stay. The landlady probably hoped she would trade for suitable goods and keep renting the room, but Tohan could not accept that plan. Do not cause trouble. Every shop here has protection and strong backing. Worried, the landlady added one more reminder. Understood. Tohan smiled. They split and walked in different directions. Though her medicine stock was large, if she planned to clear for 20 days it still felt short. She even weighed a question, whether burning a huge pile of drugs to clear was worth it, or whether leaving the instance on day 10 was the optimal plan. Thinking without an answer, she sighed and focused on browsing. Soon she spotted a shop selling a nuclear radiation protection handbook, which was exactly what she needed. The shopkeeper said, "The booklet has 20 pages, without paying you can see only 7 pages. To buy one copy costs 150 grams of uncontaminated food, or 300 grams if it is slightly contaminated. We do not accept medium or heavy contamination." Tohan flipped through the 7 pages and found the cautions almost matched the landlady's counsel, so she paid without hesitation with a clean loaf of black bread. The shopkeeper checked with his instrument, confirmed it was clean, brightened with joy, and handed over the booklet. "All right, take it." He then started eating the bread. Tohan felt genuinely happy. Even as a survival fanatic, she could not memorize every hazard protocol, so getting to patch knowledge inside the instance felt like pure luck. She sat in the shop and read carefully. External exposure protection mainly includes reducing exposure time, keeping distance from the source, and using shielding. After a nuclear leak, iodine preparations can reduce illness severity, but overdosing harms health. Avoid going out as much as possible. Chapter 99, Nuclear Radiation 2. If conditions allow, then try to stay underground. Avoid getting rained on, minimize exposed skin, cover with a scarf, wear a hat and gloves and shoes, and keep yourself dry. Long exposure to nuclear radiation can cause cancer. At first we had machines to curb metastasis, yet radiation severely disrupted them, so cancer risks rose. Illness is usually divided into 4 levels by severity. Mild injury may drain stamina, make the body feel unwell, and reduce appetite. Moderate injury shows as dizziness, exhaustion, nausea, and the urge to vomit. Severe injury brings frequent vomiting and may include diarrhea. Patients face a 50% chance of death within 30 days. Very severe injury causes relentless vomiting, diarrhea, shock, and extremely high mortality. Tohan read with care, and for a moment she felt like a schoolgirl again. Every line in the booklet looked like a key point sure to appear on an exam. The shopkeeper read her face and pitched on cue, "I also have a town map, do you want one?" "No need." Tohan slipped the book into her backpack and left at once. A short walk showed the underground square sold everything. On the left was a bun stall and on the right a water stand. A board at the stand declared, "Water contamination is very low, please shop with caution." Even so, she did gain something and bought a hat, a silk scarf, and leather gloves. She also took several rolls of tape intending to seal every patch of exposed skin. Next she bought long coats and pants to cover herself fully. As she shopped on, a man came near and whispered, "I have protective gear, do you have spare scented soap?" Tohan paused, then understood, because the booklet had said, "Wash with clean water to reduce nuclear dust and keep hands clean for hygiene." "How much?" she asked back. "1 set of protective gear for 10 cakes of scented soap." The man named a sky-high price. Tohan lacked gear, not soap, so she nodded and said, "Fine, but I will inspect first." "If you grab the goods and run, what can I do?" "Is the protective gear disposable?" she asked coolly. His eyelids twitched as though he could not control his face. He turned away in anger. "Oomph, just say no if you do not want the deal, do not waste my time." Tohan kicked once and thought a trapped schemer still dared to argue. Did he think she had no temper? The kick landed hard on his thigh and he fled without a word. After long browsing, the 2 items she wanted were still nowhere. One was protective gear that made one feel safe when worn. The other was an iodine preparation. People said after exposure taking 1 pill a day improved the body a lot. Sadly, she searched half a day and still found none for sale. "Come look, fresh ginkgo leaf tea helps reduce radiation." The grocer woman spoke fast and sounded extra warm. "Ginkgo leaf tea reduces radiation?" Tohan asked with feigned interest. "Of course," the owner said proudly, "using ginkgo leaf tea long-term can nourish blood, and people who worked in radiation used to drink it." Thinking the guests disliked tea, she pushed more, "By seaweed, it also boosts resistance to radiation." "Yes sir, how do we settle payment?" the owner beamed. "We can trade for food or daily goods." "Food," Tohan replied. "NK books." After haggling, she traded 3 slices of low-contaminated black bread for a large bag of seaweed. The owner tested the bread with a special tool and smiled on finding almost no contamination. "I will sit here for a bit," Tohan said as if tired from walking. "Please make yourself at home," the owner answered sweetly. Tohan mentioned casually, "My boss sent me to get iodine and protective gear. I walked a big loop and found nothing, as I will be scolded." The owner sympathized and soothed her, "Take it easy, working out here is not easy this year." "Is your boss picking a fight, under this situation, who would trade out protective gear or iodine?" "He told you to find gear and iodine, why not ask you to pluck stars too?" Tohan realized those items were truly scarce. She put on a pained look and asked, "Is there really no other way? My boss is rich, a landowner, just point to a source for deer and iodine and I can report back." "There is," the owner said while pointing, "leave here and go straight to the end and there is a pharmacy with iodine, but the price is beyond common folks." "Having some is enough," Tahan said in delight, "the rest does not matter." To show thanks she bought half a kilo of ginkgo leaves and the owner smiled wider. Later she looped back and asked, "How do people open shops underground? Maybe my boss will be interested." "The square has managers, pay a set amount of plants as rent and you can open a stall." Tahan nodded then asked, "How do I leave the square? There are too many turns and I am lost." The owner explained kindly, "Houses that still stand have stairs down to the square, it is normal to be confused the first time. You can also exit by the main gate to the street, but then you will be fully exposed to open air. The square opens daily from 11 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, outside those hours only staff may enter, if you stay past time you count as trespassing." Tahan lowered her gaze and thought, so that is it, the good intel made her food money well spent. She thanked politely and walked to the pharmacy. Upon arrival she saw someone haggling with the manager trying to buy out the iodine stock. Tahan was speechless and thought, when will this flaw of clearing out pharmacies ever change? Step by step she drew near and found the bargaining intense. Chengdu argued that goods are for selling, so why not sell 10 portions of iodine at once? The manager insisted each customer was limited to 3 portions and would not sell more. "If he will not sell then stop making it hard," Tahan tugged her teammate's sleeve. "Just now," Tahan replied offhand. The manager exhaled in relief and said, "Sorry, these are store rules and I cannot change them." No one expected Tahan to add calmly, "Hire a few people outside and pay a small fee, each buys 3 portions and the quarrel ends." The manager fell silent because if they did that he had no reason to refuse. Chengdu cast an approving look at his teammate because she suited him well. Before the manager could respond she said, "In fact 2 people would finish the job, agree already because hiring is a hassle." "The 2 of us want 10 portions of iodine, that is not excessive, right?" Chengdu muttered, and if refused he would hire runners. The manager yielded, "Fine, I will fetch the medicine." Tahan was slightly surprised, 10 portions for 2 people, that counts my share. "We are teammates," Chengdu said coolly. Tahan went quiet, in truth she was weighing an early exit from the dungeon. This run expected heavy drug consumption and hoarding a pile of meds for scraps of experience felt unwise, yet it was not the moment to say so. While they talked 2 men with guns burst in and barked, "This is a robbery, put all medicines into the bag," then they threw a bag down. For a second Tahan froze because she had never seen robbers so pitiful. One man's stats read, belly firmness 44%, cleanliness 41%, stamina 36%, status poor with moderate injury. The other read, belly firmness 47%, cleanliness 44%, stamina 42%, status ordinary with mild injury. Tahan grumbled inside that they were half crippled and still robbing. Even with disdain she knew if they did not force a robbery they might only sit and wait for death. The author spoke their mind. Chengdu said smugly, "I helped buy meds," and she was moved and even smiled at me. Tahan said, "I plan to leave the dungeon early so I do not need iodine." Multiple choice question, which food below can boost resistance to radiation? Tahan snapped, "Did you not say this would be tested?" Chapter 100, Nuclear Radiation 3. "What are you fussing about? Hurry and stuff the medicine into the cloth bag." The feral shout cracked the air, then he fired at the ceiling to intimidate. 2 clerks in the pharmacy, faces blank, grabbed a bag and swept all the drugs into it. "Move faster." Tahan watched like a bystander, because to clear the stage one must brazenly chew pills. No matter how many drugs she had stashed, it never felt enough, and there was none to spare for a brawl. So she kept still like a chicken, calmly watching the robbers rampage. As for Chengyu, he observed everything and thought that if the pair got lucky he would not mind robbing the robbers. Unfortunately the thought had barely formed when red dots bloomed on their foreheads. Bang, bang, bang. At once gunshots rang from different directions. In a few seconds the 2 thieves turned into white light and vanished. Tahan's face did not change, and she recalled the landlady's warning, "Remember, do not make trouble, every shop in the underground plaza is protected, the backing is hard." Indeed, snipers ringed the place, the backing hard as steel. When the job was done, they slipped away without a sound. The clerks returned to calm routine and laid the drugs out again. A manager emerged carrying 10 portions of iodine preparation. Everyone acted as if nothing had happened, unhurried and composed. Tohan lowered her gaze and judged that side characters had never been weak, their flaw was only low stamina. Thus those once negligible side characters had become dangerous. "Your iodine preparation, take care." The manager politely handed over the medicine. Chunyu took it and asked his small teammate, "What do you want to buy?" He coughed and continued, "What is your plan next?" Tahan had been full of grand ambition, yet now she wanted to return to the landlady, chew pills to endure until the 10th day, then leave the instance. "I meant to stay in the underground plaza to slow the stamina drop." She sighed, "But they say before 5 in the afternoon
NK
anyone
books.
not on staff must leave, so I gave up." "Why not live with me?" Chunyu invited. Tahan slanted a look, "You have a room, how would you do that?" He chuckled, "These days if you hold food and medicine you can get anything." Tohan considered and found it reasonable. "So are you coming?" He invited again. "I am." She nodded at once. Living with side characters is inconvenient. The daily rent is another burden. "Right, living together we can look after each other," he responded solemnly. Though the old lady had said not to wait, Tahan still worried she might stand at the meeting spot with a hard shell and soft heart. Hearing her tenant had found a relative, the landlady fell silent. She wished to advise more, yet after seeing the reunion she dropped any thought of persuasion. "Relative, my foot," she feared the girl was off to meet a lover. "Then farewell," the landlady said crisply. Tahan handed over 2 bottles of milk and thanked her sincerely. "Thank you for opening your door back then." Without the landlady she might have walked bareheaded through tainted air, then with grim surprise watched stamina fall and had to gobble pills to live. The landlady took the milk and said stiffly, "I will keep the guest room for you, you can come any time, but if you move in the rent is still the usual." "Yes." Tahan smiled and agreed. Only then did the landlady amble away. Tahan rubbed her chin and asked, "If upon entering the instance you knock everywhere and no one answers, what will a player become?" "Sometimes large swaths of skin will be exposed to the air. For 1 or 2 hours the damage stays low." Chunyu answered evenly, "If you are dull and unaware and remain out for 5 hours, erasing half a life is not impossible. What is there to fear, the 2 of us can carry it." He stayed unruffled. They chatted idly while strolling the underground square. By about 4:30 in the afternoon he let his little teammate out. Tahan glanced at time and attributes and murmured, "Half an hour. Drops 1 stamina, underground is truly safe. It is a pity the daily entry is only from 11 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon." Chunyu analyzed, "In a room 10 minutes drops 1 point, in the underground plaza 30 minutes drops 1 point, 1 hour drops 4 points. You can stay there at most 6 hours a day, which saves at most 24 stamina. For us it is negligible, but for some people lingering underground might bring a lucky pass, while those who cannot find it may lose the right to compete." While talking they returned to the surface. Tohan looked around and found the house similar to the landlady's with small differences. For example, there were lead sheets, an air purifier, and a cluster of empty mineral water bottles. "Sit anywhere," he called. Tohan would not sit still and mixed seaweed with seasonings. While kneading she muttered, "They say seaweed boosts radiation resistance, who knows if it is true, want to try?" Chunyu did not stand on ceremony, grabbed a handful, and concluded, "Tasty indeed." Then the system's mechanical voice sounded by her ear, "You ate seaweed, for the next 2 hours radiation resistance is effectively increased." Yet after 2 hours the buff vanished and the drop rate returned to 1 point per 10 minutes. She next tried ginkgo leaf tea. Drinking the tea granted the same radiation resistance increased buff. However, the duration was tightly tied to the amount consumed. Moreover, buying ginkgo leaves and seaweed was not cheap. Is this instance a ruthless economy grind? Tahan could not help thinking so. Protective gear, ginkgo leaves, seaweed, iodine preparations, and other items all worked against radiation. But in turn, purchasing them required a hefty price. If you cannot afford them, you only watch stamina flow away like water. Without leaning on drugs, stamina falls as much as you have. Meanwhile, the round's environment is harsh. If you do not hide indoors, you basically die, and side characters will not casually let strangers in, so rent becomes another cost. Even she, with her inventory crammed before entry, now felt a twinge of anxiety. The instance devours supplies, the market is closed, no more resupply. This is the rhythm of deciding the winner. Tahan faintly sensed the contest nearing its end. With 2 or 3 more instances, the result could be decided. Want to test the iodine preparation's effect? Chung Yu leaned in. Tahan looked him over and asked, "What are you planning?" "To clear, of course." He answered lightly, "I have calculated it, full stamina is 880, if I report to the underground plaza at fixed times each day I can last 7 days. With 100 remaining I will drink a vitality potion." A vitality potion removes all negative states on a player. For me, clearing means drinking 3 vitality potions plus spending 20 days of food and daily goods. It is simple. Then he glanced at his teammate and added, "Even counting you, we only need 6 vitality potions, no big problem." Tahan rarely felt amused. If a vitality potion is omnipotent, why buy iodine? "I intend to slow the stamina drop as much as possible. 1 potion carries me 10 days, 2 potions clear the stage." "If I remember right, you did not use any vitality potions in the previous 9 instances?" she asked. "Right, so I still have 7 potions. 7 vitality potions, equal to 7 extra lives." Tahan thought her teammate might be nearly immortal. In the end, Chung Yu concluded, "No hurry, no panic, play at ease. For the 2 of us, everything stays in control." At this point, Tahan admitted, "Honestly, I still have not decided whether I want to clear." Chung Yu fell silent. That reply lay outside his prediction, and he wondered why clearing would not be good and what there was to hesitate about. The author whispers that Chung Yu says, "You were not in my calculations, do not disrupt my pace."